This is Newsroom. Hello and welcome from Johannesburg here in South Africa. My name, of course, is Jansen. This show is always live, broadcast from our studios here in Auckland Park. Don't forget, 9 to 12. We also broadcast live, that is, on our YouTube channel. You can watch that channel back on demand a little bit later in the day if there are any highlights that you've missed. And today we've got quite a few highlights. Exclusive interview shortly with June Steenkamp. Elvis is going to give us a roundup around the country's campuses where tensions are still simmering. Before we get to those, let's go to Anine to give us a quick update of what's happening on social media this morning.
Well, good morning. Yeah, then I can tell you that national shutdown has already taken Twitter by storm this morning as students across the country will be protesting against increased fees. Then we'll also see how Twitter reacts to June Steenkamp's speech a bit later this morning.
Yeah, that's right. June Steenkamp launched the Riva Steenkamp Foundation at about 8:15 this morning. She's also giving us an exclusive interview. We'll be with that after a news update from Elvis Presley.
Thank you, Eben. Let's now take a look at all your headlines. Students' organisation COSAS is set to support university students across the country in their protest against an increase in tuition fees in what they call a National Day of Action campaign. Wits University management has advised students to use the next few days to study for their forthcoming exams. And political parties expect the Finance Minister Nhlanhla Nene to outline how much money will be allocated to future budgets to fund struggling students at tertiary institutions when he tables his medium-term budget policy statement today. Those are all your headlines coming up in a short while, but right now, Kendall Makamate is standing by with your sports news. A very good morning to you.
Good morning, Elvis. Thank you very much. Yes, we do have a lot of sports for you. In fact, coming up in the next hour in the sports, Jomo Cosmos holds Soweto Giants Kaizer Chiefs to a 0-0 draw as the PSL resumes. This says Arsenal stopped the Bayern juggernaut, beating them 2-0 at the Emirates. And the Boks are feeling the pressure ahead of their Rugby World Cup clash against fierce rivals New Zealand at the weekend. That, in a nutshell, is what we've got for you for sports in the next hour. Back to you, Elvis.
Thank you, Kendall. Right now, let's take a look at your top story. Students' organisation SASCO has called on all students to join today's national mass action. Several tertiary institutions have suspended classes ahead of continuing protests in support of the Fees Must Fall campaign. The University of the Witwatersrand and Pretoria announced last night that they will be closed to allow for a national day of solidarity with the student protesting over tuition fee increases. Wits will remain closed until next Monday. The university says it recognizes the need to allow time for negotiations to take place to resolve the current situation. Students have vowed to continue with protest action. This despite an announcement by the Higher Education Minister Bladen Nzimande that fee increases for next year will be capped at 6%. Now, for the latest on the story on the varsity protest, let's now cross live to Wits University, where our reporter Makhetla Mhlaba is standing by, but she's not ready as yet. We will see if we can get hold of her and then cross to her live to find out the latest update on that one. So you have to stay tuned as we go across the country. In the Cape Town, at the University of Cape Town there, students have also resumed to look at the protest and to see if they will continue. So we will see if we can also get hold of our reporter in Cape Town. So let's go to the University of Cape Town students who have resumed their protest action against an increase in tuition fees. They've blocked the entrance way to the lower campus as the protests enter their third day. The students have vowed to reject the 6% cap on the 2016 tuition fees that the Higher Education Minister Bladen Nzimande announced yesterday. The UCT's fees increase was initially set at 10.3%. Operations at the campus have been shut down for the day. beating on a drum and singing songs. Students have blocked off the entranceway by sitting in the middle of the road. Other students are slowly making their way down to join the group. They say they've hardly had any sleep, but are continuing to put forth their fight for a no-fee increase. Security personnel are monitoring the protest.
The number of students swelled significantly from Monday night's protest. Among them, workers subcontracted for cleaning services. The workers say being contracted through outsourcing keeps them in a cycle of poverty. They too have added their voices to the fray.
The salary we are getting from those service providers, it's not enough for my kids. It's not enough even for me to go and buy food, even to buy something better. This thing is just dragging my dignity. This salary is just something that I don't like. That's why we said we demand a living wage of 10,000. We demand the outsource must go. We want the insource in UCT.
Students brought Rondebosch Main Road to a standstill for several hours. After hearing their fellow students would be released, they moved back up to Middle Campus, where the news reached them of the proposed 6% fee increase. The students are resolute.
No, we're already paying 24,000. I'm a black poor student. That is why I'm in this protest. And I'm doing this for my brothers and sisters and my child one day so that they can get quality education without them having to pay a lot of money. Already I've got black tax that is going to affect me when I graduate at the end of this year. I already have fees that I still need to pay back for the institution that nurses loan I got for the past 4 years in the university.
6% to 150,000 is a lot of money, but my mother's going to get a 6% increase on her 2,000 rand salary. She's simply not going to be able to pay the fees, and it'll never be the same. They must just make it 0%.
They want to say that if you're academically eligible, then the university will cover your debt. But what does that mean? The rich kid can keep failing as much as he wants to. But what about the poor kid who's working hard but still just can't make the cut? So I think that it's something that they really have to scrap.
Mariska Botha, SABC News, Cape Town.
Now, for the latest on the varsity protest, let's now cross live to Wits University, where our reporter Makhetla Moslaba is standing by. Very good morning to you, Makhetla. And we understand that the Wits University students spent the entire night on campus there in Braamfontein in Johannesburg. Tell us more about that.
Good morning, Elvis. Indeed, they spent the whole night here in the university studying and, of course, preparing for exams that will be soon be approaching. But we also understand that, ever since last week, Wednesday, when the protest started, I've been speaking to some of the students, describing how disadvantaged their families are. But this protest is not only about them. We have seen even those who are more fortunate, coming on board to add their voices to support these particular students. We've also seen the likes of celebrities coming on board. Of course, we've also seen more and more support from left and right. So today, rather before this time, students just packed up their blankets, leaving the campus. But some of them, they're still inside there. They're trying to clean so that they can prepare for the course of the day.
What will happen during the course of today?
Well, basically what will happen today is that they will have a meeting at around 10 o'clock just inside the Senate House here. And from there, we understand that they will go to the medical campus, which is in Parktown, to gather the medical students in order for them to make their way to the main campus. And that's expected to be done around noon, around 11, around 12 o'clock. So at the moment, it's a little bit quiet, but we understand that the day is still going to be a bit long in terms of the protest, and I understand that they will also be taking part in the National Day of Solidarity for students around universities countrywide.
What is the security situation like at the university as we speak?
Well, the situation at the university right now is that the students, some of them, of course, are still in the lab. They're still trying to, catch up with their studies as they've been involved in these protests. As I said, since Wednesday, they've been protesting day and night. So they're just trying to catch up with their studies. They are in the computer labs, So it seems that other than protesting, they understand that they've got a mandate to meet their studies, just in case the exams, of course, are getting kick-started.
Now, yesterday, the Wits University students rejected an agreement that the tuition fee increases at tertiary institutions will be capped at 6%. Is that still their standpoint?
Definitely. What they are saying is that they need 0% increase. They don't need any percent coming, ahead of next year. So they are actually still singing the same song to say that we have been paying and we are struggling. But again, this 10.5% needs to be scrapped. Again, they are also saying that the 6% capping that was introduced by the Minister of Higher Education last night, they're not accepting it. So all they are looking for is the 0% increase for next year, for 2016.
Thank you so much for your time. That's our reporter on the scene, Makhetla Mohlabe, who is at Wits University. Now, we'll do a roundup of the other universities as well. Meanwhile, the tensions are running high at the Potchefstroom campus as they continue in the Northwest University. It follows attempts by some students to remove the statue of Tusius. Now, the students, organised under the Reform PIC, are calling for transformation at the university. They also demand that Afrikaans no longer be used as a medium of instruction on the campus. Other students formed a human chain around the statue in an effort to protect its possible removal. Tusius is famed for having translated the Bible to Afrikaans. Some students say there are far more serious issues on the campus. Meanwhile, economists say the medium-term budget policy statement that the Finance Minister Nhlanhla Nene will present today will give some clues on tax changes that might be on the cards. They say they will look out for hints on possible tax changes in next February's budget. The market expect the Finance Minister to remind South Africans about the work of the Davis Tax Commission, particularly those recently published on VAT for public comment. Most market participants foresee a scope for a VAT hike in coming years as the government seeks to broaden its tax base. But next year's local government elections could see its implementation temporarily put on hold. Well, that's your news for now. Eben is standing by for more in-depth reviews and interviews.
Yeah, thank you very much, Elvis. And I can tell you, Elvis, today we've got some stuff that you will only see on this channel and on this very show. Now, Reeva Steenkamp's mother, June, launched the Reeva Steenkamp Foundation this morning at St. Dominic's High School in Port Elizabeth. At the event, June Steenkamp read a speech that Reeva was supposed to deliver the morning, of that fateful Valentine's Day. The Steenkamps gave us exclusive access to the launch. Now, I can tell you in the speech, Reeva, the one that she was supposed to deliver, spoke about her upbringing, the financial difficulties that she faced as a student and in her family, of the hard work that she had to endure to get bursaries as a law student. Well, she also asked of the young women at the school to take charge of their space and to have no fear. Being loved by others, she said, although an amazing feeling to have the appreciation of the world does not define your place in this world. She told the young women to be brave, always see the positive in things, make your voice heard, your physical seen, and the presence of your mind felt. It's that culmination of your person that will leave a legacy and uplift, is how she concluded. Now, those were just some of the things Reeva's mom, June, shared earlier this morning at about 8:15 with grade 11 pupils at St. Dominic's, Reeva's former school, in Port Elizabeth. Let's take a look now at the whole speech that she delivered.
I chose this wonderful school to speak about my wonderful daughter, who was moulded by love and care given to her at this school. And it's significant that she became here a good person and a strong Christian who cared for others before herself. Today I wish to give you her thoughts on Valentine's Day and your future on this planet as you are the future. On the 14th of February 2013, Reva planned to go to school Sandton High in Johannesburg and speak to the young ladies about respect and avoiding bad choices in relationships with partners. But that morning she was shot through the toilet door and she died. She did not make it to her appointment with the school. I will now carry on where she left off her legacy. Reva's legacy is now the Reva Rebecca Steenkamp Foundation against the abuse of women and children. The foundation will raise money for a refuge in PE, Port Elizabeth, where women and their children can escape from abuse and with an education to rebuild their life. I'd now like to speak about what she wrote for Valentine's Day. She would first have asked, did you receive flowers or chocolates or cards or messages on February for Valentine's Day? And then to say that receiving those things is very special, but not receiving anything doesn't define you as a person. She was brought up on a farm having no money, but being blessed with amazing parents who never allowed her to be aware of her circumstances. And after moving to PE, decided to study law despite the financial situation. I worked hard to be in knowledge as one of the 15 top % academics at university, so that my studies could be 80% covered, and I worked to pay off the rest. I broke my back towards the end of varsity and had to learn mobility again, and made a massive life decision towards my career. I lost a lot of self-worth during my last year in PE before I moved to Josie, and it took some serious soul searching to remind myself my value in this world. Despite my height disadvantage and difficulty generally of breaking into the modeling industry, I put my head down and worked hard towards my dream, so that she worked towards being a public figure, so that she could get the abuse of women. That was her, after Anine Boyson died, that was her task in life. She could not get over that. And she decided she's going to be part physically in doing that. Being loved by others, although an amazing feeling, to have the appreciation of others, does not define you in your place in the world. Accept who you are. Acknowledge your absolute can-dos in life, and work on your maybes so that you can be a better person for the ultimate upliftment of those around you. No matter how many people say they love you, if you do not love your own self, you will never step outside the physical you. The physical can only do so much if your mental you is locked inside you in all confusion. Be brave and always be positive. Make your voice heard, your physical seen, and the presence of your mental felt. It's that culmination of your person that will leave a legacy and uplift. I hope that you all had an amazing Valentine's Day and you were spoiled with love and roses and chocolates. Go home and tell your parents, your siblings, your neighbors that they are appreciated, and you will go to bed with a happy heart and an open mind for the future. I would like to tell the girls to make the best friends of their mothers, so that you can share with her your fears, and if anything is worrying you, you are open to discuss with your family. The young men, respect your mother and father, respect your sisters, respect anyone who is older than you. You will be head of the family one day, and they will be able to respect you in return. Have respect and love for God. This is most of all and the most important, and this is a very good plan. It's been a very hard journey, and it's going to go on till the day that I die on my deathbed. I will keep that hurt never goes away, and it's such a loss to society because she would have done so much. She was so brilliantly clever. Apart from beautiful, she was very intelligent. She had a law degree. She would have made big bookmarks in the world, definitely. And I feel that's sad that that was taken away from her, that she will never have a baby, my grandchild. She will never have a wedding. She will never have a wedding dress, which all girls dream of. And they took away that work that she did to build her place in life. And she had all the right about integrity. Always keep your integrity and, you know, be proud of yourself and learn to love yourself. That was a lot of really wonderful things used to come out from her. Without my faith, I would never have got through this terrible thing that it gives me pains in my heart and my soul every day. So you've got to have a support from your family, but you've got to give yourself also to your family and make them able to go to them with whatever is wrong. And I think that's a very, very important skill that you can learn. You know, love everybody, love your family, love your sisters, your brothers, your mother, your father, and respect them, and be able to go to them and talk to them when you have a problem. And the men, it's important that you respect women. It's very important. One has to forgive to move on, otherwise you become ill. And you forgive, for God expects you to forgive. And until you've done that, you can't move forward in any way. But at the same time, we still suffer every day, my husband and I. Our lives are, we've got such a big part. It's like having your arm or your leg removed, or it's part of you is gone. A big part, you know. She was so devoted to us and we to her since she was born. I've got no feelings of revenge. I don't want to hurt him. He's already a disabled person. I didn't want him to be thrown in jail and be suffering, because I don't wish suffering on anyone. And that's not going to bring Reva back, but in my heart I don't feel I don't want revenge towards him. I'm past that. You know, once you've told God that you forgive, you have to forgive. And I don't want him to suffer, because then I would be like other people. I don't want to be like other people. I've got my own ideas. You don't get revenge. You don't want revenge. And I would certainly not want to hurt another human being, any human being.
Those were the final words of Reva Steenkamp, delivered by Mother June, of course, at St. Dominic's High School in Port Elizabeth. Now, let's cross there now, St. Dominic's High School in Port Elizabeth, where June Steenkamp delivered these final words to launch the Reva Steenkamp Foundation today. Our reporter, Lerato Tipa, has been there since quite early this morning. A very good morning to you, Lerato. I thank you for joining us.
Good very morning to you, Eben. We actually had live at St. Dominic's Priory, and this is the same school that Reva Steenkamp attended. And as you have heard earlier on, we heard a speech by June Steenkamp. Ironically, the same speech that Reva would have delivered were she not shot and killed. Really an emotional and heartfelt speech, but really focusing on the importance of just going ahead now and setting up the foundation to fight for the rights of abused women and children.
Before we go into that, let's just talk about the mood at the school this morning and the tone of June Steenkamp during this speech. Was it quite a somber event?
June Steenkamp really maintained her composure throughout the speech. She really is a strong woman, and throughout the speech you could see she was trying to make sure that she completes her speech. So she really showed no emotion, there was no tears shed. And the pupils themselves, you know, there were a few tears here and there, but you could see most above all that they were motivated and inspired by her speech.
Now, she launched the Riva Steenkamp Foundation this morning. Tell us, what did she tell you? What is going to be the work of the Riva Steenkamp Foundation going forward?
She has a short and long-term goal for the Riva Steenkamp Foundation. The short-term goal is to go around to schools in Port Elizabeth, teaching young people the importance of respecting their parents, loving themselves, and having an open relationship with their parents. And then the long-term goal is to set up a centre here in Port Elizabeth, which is going to be a refuge for abused women and children.
Leratu, now, tell us about the reaction of the students, because the words that Riva spoke through her mother today, they were quite inspirational and comforting in a way, and the irony of it all wasn't lost on me.
One of the pupils that we interviewed said something that was really so touching, that for a long time he has been trying to make sure that him and his mom have a good relationship. And in her speech, she said, you know what, every young person must have a good relationship. And he said that, you know what, after her speech, he's going to make sure that now he has a good relationship with his parents. Also, a young man said, you know, one thing that he has learned is the importance of respecting women. One thing that also that June Steenkamp emphasized in her speech as well.
You mentioned June Steenkamp. You've managed to talk to her. What do you take out of your conversation with June Steenkamp this morning?
Through my conversation with June Steenkamp, I really met a woman who has really has forgiven Oscar, who has moved beyond just the case, and now her focus is taking Riva Steenkamp legacy forward. She wants to empower other women and other young children to have a voice for themselves, and the end goal is that she wants to have the centre. She actually wants to raise awareness and above all raise funds, because she says that every young woman deserves to know that they are loved and they are nurtured, and she wants every other young person to go ahead now and to love people, to forgive people, and above all to have a strong relationship with their parents.
Now Riva is an icon in Port Elizabeth now. She's elevated in the community, for obvious reasons. Oscar was released a little bit earlier, although not out of prison. He's still under house arrest. Just tell us a little bit about the reaction after yesterday's events.
After yesterday's events, people in Port Elizabeth really were a bit disappointed and have been angered, especially the community that Riva Steenkamp grew up. They were there about a few days ago, and we met locals who grew up with Riva, and they're saying, you know what, yesterday when he was released was just a sad reminder, a painful reminder of what happened that day. And really, most people are saying that they really are still angered and still disappointed by the fact that Oscar was released from prison.
Well, Lerata, thank you very much for a wonderful contribution this morning. That's our reporter, Lerata Tipa. She's outside the St. Dominic's High School in Port Elizabeth, where, of course, June Steenkamp launched the Riva Steenkamp Foundation. Well, she also delivered a speech, a fateful speech, really, a speech that Riva had to deliver on that Valentine's morning, where she died in a hail of bullets, really, in a toilet in a house in Silverwoods Estate in Pretoria. Let's go to Anine now to see what's happening on social media. Any reaction thus far as to what June Steenkamp has done this morning?
Well, Evan, I did take a quick look on Twitter searching for #Riva, but I think that maybe not everyone has seen the broadcast as yet. It's definitely something that we will be tweeting from Newsroom's Twitter account, which is at SABC Newsroom. We'll tweet that entire link that will be up on YouTube, and people can view that speech from June Steenkamp. But Evan, the talking point on Twitter this morning is the national shutdown. We know the student organisation COSAS and SASCO have called for the shutdown to take place across the country today at all universities. This, of course, is in line with the fees must fall revolution that we saw that started at Wits University. Now, Evan, I've actually put a map for us together. If I can just walk over to the video wall there.
There we go.
There are so many hashtags going around on social media at this stage. It's really difficult to keep up with what exactly is going on where in the country. Let's just start with Johannesburg, Wits University. This is the hashtag that started it all. Wits fees will fall. Now, of course, we saw a lot of action. We saw some days the protest was peaceful at Wits. Some days it got a bit violent. That car that was overturned. This morning,
interesting, the University of Pretoria, they've started their protest. They shut down the campus, actually, today to kind of deal with this. It's called UP Uprising University.
UP Uprising this morning, that hashtag was trending, Eben, because around 3 o'clock, the security started evacuating the students from the campus. They just wanted no potential violence to break out because they know that the shutdown is taking place today. The students did complain a bit. I'm guessing at 3 o'clock in the morning, you've got students sitting in the library, busy studying. They were unhappy about that. But it doesn't seem that there's anything too serious going on at the 6 campus right now. Then even if we can move to Port Elizabeth, where hashtag NMMU shutdown is trending, we know that the students there have already embarked on a march. And then lastly, Cape Town, we've seen a few hashtags come from there because we have the UCT shutdown and we have Sally's fees must fall that came from different universities in Cape Town. But Eben, I can tell you that a UCT student this morning did upload a video, 15 seconds video, if we can take a look at that, just to give you an idea of what's happening over there. That was uploaded to Twitter. That was actually students just singing in the cafeteria, telling everyone, same thing like Tix, to go home. If we can have that video ready and just take a look at what students are tweeting this morning. Oh, there we have it. It seems pretty peaceful.
Yeah, it looks pretty peaceful, but it looks spirited, I can't say. It looks like, for once, the student movement, students across the country are united about, getting fees to fall. 10.5 to 11% increase across the board. I've looked at the numbers. It doesn't really look good for the universities, if one is honest. But talking about money...
Yes.
Finance Minister today is under the pump a little bit, isn't he?
The midterm is that the budget policy statement that the Finance Minister is going to deliver in Parliament later today. The pressure is on him because opposition parties say they want to know exactly how money is going to be allocated to student funds, even. So we know that struggling students will be assisted. And then, of course, we said Riva taking place late. Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, the Riva Steenkamp interview stolen a march on all the media houses here at Newsroom today. We'll put up that interview with June Steenkamp. Also, June Steenkamp spoke to us exclusively. We'll play that interview a little bit later in the show. So stay with us if you want to watch an exclusive interview with June Steenkamp after she launched the Riva Steenkamp Foundation at St. Dominic's High School in Port Elizabeth a little bit earlier today.
That's all we have for now, Eben. We'll keep you updated throughout the morning.
Yeah, thank you very much, Anine. Let's now have a look, of course, at this nationwide protest in support of the Fees Must Fall campaign. Northwest University in Mahikeng, their campus, have now also joined other universities countrywide in opposing the proposed increase of tuition fees. Here are some of the tweets. As you see the pictures of students galvanized, here are some of the tweets of what people are talking about. J.C. McFarlane talks about who must be held responsible for laws being broken. You commit crime, but you don't want to be held responsible. National shutdown fees must fall, asks J.C. McFarlane. Mr. and Mrs. Mbata says national shutdown must fall. Go back and write exam. It's hard outside here. Yes, Mr. and Mrs. Mbata, the real world awaits, and the realities in the real world are quite real. Have the students given any ideas of how the varsities can stay open without the billions from fees? National shutdown is the question asked by Jocelyn this morning. We are indeed the ones we have been waiting for. National shutdown. It's a little bit early to celebrate yourself. National shutdown. Those are some of the comments coming in on social media. Of course, keep it coming. Keep interacting with Newsroom. We'll keep you updated. We've got lots of original content here on this very show. Time for us to take a break. When we come back, we'll have a whole lot more.
Good. Boy. Sit.
Get behind Rugby World Cup 2015 on SABC.
We ask tough questions.
Have you spoken to the president about resigning?
We ask hard questions.
What you're trying to do requires a lot of money and you don't have money.
We ask quick questions.
A quick one. You are aware that the PAC has now been banned by the IEC?
I'm aware.
And you are also aware that it has been banned because of you?
We ask good questions.
Are you an infiltrated organization?
We also ask funny questions.
Is it safe to eat your chicken?
All the questions, all the time, right here on Question Time, Monday to Thursday at 5:30 p.m.
Welcome back. You're watching Newsroom here on SABC News. Now, last Sunday, families and children flocked to their local Rhodes Park here in Kensington, Johannesburg, to spend an afternoon in the sun, walking their dogs and feeding the ducks, oblivious to the brutal incident that had occurred there the day before. 12 men attacked two couples, tying the men up and throwing them in a lake to drown before raping one of the women while the other was able to escape this ordeal. Although security have stepped up measures to ensure the safety of residents there, still a concern. Now, to help us understand the mindset of such criminals, we're joined in studio by specialist psychiatrist Dr. Daniela Eliasov. Dr. Daniela, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
This is such a terrible blight on the recent couple of days here in South Africa. There's so many aspects to look at with this incident. It's not only about the robbery or the brutality, the gang rape and the murder, but I want to start with the gang rape because in South Africa we have this problem with rape. We have this problem with masculinity, I would think. In this case, this kind of gang rape that we see, is it about power or is it a sexual thing? What is it?
Well, it's difficult. I mean, obviously, it depends on each individual, and we're not, the perpetrators themselves, I mean, we're not sure of who they are and each one and their story. But I think, just speaking in a more general sense, South Africa, we've got a big problem with rape. We've got a big problem with violence against women. And I think a lot of it's got to do with sort of, well, I suppose poverty and the way people have been brought up and our poor access to sort of psychological services. Yeah. And so I think also cultural factors playing a role as well. Yeah. So I think that there's sort of a multifactorial issue that's leading to us having some of the worst rape statistics in the world.
Do we have a problem with hyper-masculinity here in South Africa where men almost feel that they have to be overly masculine?
I think that's also depending on the culture. Certain cultures do, maybe more than others, encourage that sort of, quite antiquated kind of gender roles. So men needing to be sort of more powerful, seen as, if they're listening to the woman or regarding what they say, it's seen as almost a weakness. Yeah. So we definitely, that sort of cultural, those cultural norms are definitely, I think, part of what we're seeing.
I wanted to ask you about this crime, particularly 12 men involved. Now, 12 people have to agree amongst each other to commit this act. As a human being, what kind of personal aspects or what kind of personal agreements do you have to make in order to go through with such a crime?
So, I mean, just from the nature of what happened, it sounds like there was definitely an aspect of planning and collaboration and, it wasn't just a guy who was walking in the park, saw a girl, couldn't control his impulses, did what he did, and this was planned. This seems like it was a collaboration. It just goes to show the deep sort of psychological pathology of probably each individual involved. Probably I would imagine many of them suffering from what, layperson's terms we call psychopathy or sociopathy. In the DSM, so in the psychiatry, our sort of diagnostic terms, it would probably be labelled an antisocial personality. Yeah. Also, sometimes when groups like this kind of collaborate to perpetuate such horrific crimes, a lot of the time, certain individuals in the group will probably low function in terms of intellect and just sort of get quite badly influenced. So it's possible that we're sitting with 12 psychopaths who all kind of really each and every one planned it. Yeah. But I would imagine there's a couple of sort of more low-functioning individuals thrown into the mix, being influenced by the group, which is also possible, but we don't know.
The way that they chose to commit this murder, though, they stripped these men naked, tied them up, and threw them into a lake to drown. What does that say about these individuals?
So again, it's speaking to the fact that there's a level of planning. It's not just an impulsive act. They just ran up to the guy and stabbed him and then think, oh gosh, what have we done? They actually had to sit and strip him down and hold him down and tie him up and throw, so that level of planning just, again, speaks to how psychologically deranged and disturbed these individuals must have been.
You talk about, and we're looking at pictures now from Rhodes Park where this incident took place, almost idyllic pictures in this instance, but you touched on untreated mental illness in South Africa and the high levels that we have on our streets. Is that one of the factors why we see such violent acts out in our society?
I'm going to say no. So I'm going to say that I would guess that these were not individuals suffering from something like bipolar, schizophrenia, things that make one not responsible or less responsible for one's crimes. When we talk about a psychopath or an antisocial personality, in court and legally speaking, these people are completely fit to stand trial and they are completely responsible for their actions. So to say that this is a suffering from mental illness is a little bit controversial. I'd say these are people who have a sort of very disordered way of relating to the world, which could have maybe been prevented if they had an intervention during childhood. But to say that mentally ill people are sort of running through our streets, murdering people, I think we've got to be careful to sort of make the distinction where, bipolar, depression, schizophrenia, things like that.
What about drugs? Could this be drug-related?
Yeah, so that definitely could play a factor. And again, once people are either intoxicated or just craving substances, they will do things that they maybe ordinarily wouldn't do. However, in this case, I'm also, it doesn't seem that they were robbing these people to get money to buy drugs, but perhaps potentially were intoxicated.
Well, Dr. Daniela Eliasov is a specialist psychiatrist. She joins us periodically to talk about these cases, specifically the most gruesome ones, the ones that we all struggle to come to terms with here in South Africa, often very difficult. Thank you very much, as always, for joining us. That's Dr. Daniela Eliasov. Now, of course, I told you about that exclusive interview. Reeva Steenkamp's mother, she launched the Reeva Steenkamp Foundation this morning at St. Dominic's High School in Port Elizabeth. After the event this morning, June Steenkamp spoke exclusively to us about the launch of the Reeva Steenkamp Foundation.
Good morning. We are broadcasting live from St. Dominic's Priory. That's the school that you see behind me, and the same school that Reeva Steenkamp attended earlier this morning. June Steenkamp shared a really touching speech. Ironically, the same speech Reeva would have delivered on the day she was shot and killed. But the way forward for this family is the Reeva Rebecca Steenkamp Foundation, and that is why we are here this morning. She's here to share more about this foundation and the work it aims to do to empower abused women. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Take us through now about the Reeva Rebecca Steenkamp Foundation. Why did you set it up? What is the purpose of this foundation?
The purpose of the foundation is Reeva Rebecca Steenkamp Foundation against the abuse of women and children. And eventually we will be able to help them. We'll have refuges, but obviously we have to raise money to do that. So in the meantime, we're going the education route and speaking to pupils and young men and women who are going to be the future.
In your speech earlier on, you touched about the importance of children having an open relationship with their parents. Is that the message that you're driving throughout your talks at the schools?
That is the most important thing. People who love them are their parents. But they must also build a platform where the parents will be able to they will come to the parents and say if something is wrong or they need to share something with the parents. But they are also responsible for building that platform so that the children would want to come forward and speak to them. That's what the future of those people are going to be.
And you also touched on about the foundation and the centre is going to be set up. What kind of services is the centre ultimately going to provide, especially for abused women and children?
Well, they'll be taken out of the abusive relationship and they will be moved to the refuge where they will be safe and away from all the abuse. And then secondly, they have to learn to build a home away from where they've been. So they need educating maybe about employment. They need to earn money, the women, so they can build another life for themselves, to rebuild their life.
And then just a last question, June. Your message now to young people as you go out and do the speeches, what is the number one message you're going to try and drive, especially for the younger generation?
For the younger generation, I would say that the things that I said today about building the platform with the parents, where they can go and speak to the parents if there's some problem. And, for us to help each other, not to see something going on that's bad and abusive and not become involved. We as people must love each other and they must be able to help other people. That's what it's about, opening up about everything. We don't hide away problems anymore. We deal with them.
Well, that was June Steenkamp saying that the focus of the family now is the Riva Rebecca Steenkamp Foundation, which ultimately wants to build a centre which is going to be a refuge for abused women and children's rights. Back to you in studio.
Well, thank you, Lerato. Sterling work there from our team in Port Elizabeth to bring you all the content, including that exclusive interview with June Steenkamp, of course, after she launched the Riva Steenkamp Foundation in Port Elizabeth this morning. Coincidentally, just the day after Oscar Pistorius was moved out of prison and into house arrest. Now, today's news, the Finance Minister, that's Nhlanhla Nene, will present the medium-term budget policy statement to Parliament this afternoon. University students have called on the Minister to set aside more money towards higher education when he delivers his speech. The comments have been varied, of course. Everybody wants the Minister to do something. Let's have a look at some of the tweets that have been coming in with regards to what everybody wants the Minister to do. Christian says, tomorrow's midterm budget speech has the potential to go down as a defining moment in South African history. Very deep indeed. Isaac Chirwa says, Nhlanhla Nene back in the hot seat again, midterm budget in a sluggish economy. Fees must fall is the hashtag that is running. Kume Ramulipo says, Minister Nene should be adjusting his budget to rescue Minister Nzimande from the varsity crisis. Looking forward for the midterm budget. Well, do we have money for the students? What do you think? We've asked you the question today. Is 6%? Is 6% still an unreasonable increase in university fees? Send us your comments there. We'll put the best ones up again at the end of the show. That's shortly before 12 o'clock, as we usually do, and we'll talk about the news of the day. Time to take a break. When we come back, we talk about the bridge collapse that happened here in Johannesburg. Don't go away.
Get all the latest news from the SABC's online news services on our website. Breaking news and in-depth coverage of everything from business, sports to politics and lifestyle. Catch the top news clips and watch live streaming of major news events on the SABC News YouTube channel whenever. Stay connected on the SABC News Facebook page and have your say on news that matters to you. And for the latest headlines and live updates from our reporters, follow us on Twitter. SABC Digital News, anytime, anywhere.
We live in a digital era, and the number of Africans with mobile phones is rapidly increasing.
Twitter use is predominantly being done on smartphones. This is a very African phenomenon.
Here, there are constantly new innovative ways to make the internet more affordable. With that, we're seeing protests against governments proposing methods to limit access. On Network, we give you information about all of this. We also have new computers, games and robots.
Join Siphumelele Zondi on Network every Sunday at 19:30 CAT.
Yeah, welcome back to Newsroom. Now, the recent collapse of a temporary structure in Sandton Bridge, well, it's once again shone some light on the country's construction industry as a whole. The sector is a major player in the economy of the country, but a lack of understanding of the regulatory framework, poor compliance to expected processes, poor workmanship are just some of the factors which have led to some of the decline in the industry over the years. Now, Mbasa Voyi is a partner at the Compliance Factory. He believes that in order to deal with some of these challenges, the best approach is to focus on quality instead of quantity. He joins us now from our studios in Port Elizabeth. That's Mbasa Voyi, a partner, as I said earlier, at the Compliance Factory. A very good morning to you, Mbasa. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
Do you think this bridge issue we had in Johannesburg, from where you're sitting, was a compliance issue?
I would say for this particular bridge, there's a number of things that one would need to look at, and obviously the matter of compliancy from a regulatory point of view would be quite critical. Like the ongoing monitoring which takes place when you are erecting such structures. Yes.
How do we best improve?
Obviously,
how do we best improve, and how do we prevent such disasters in future here in South Africa?
All right. I think the industry, we should use such events to build like a nationwide conversation, which says, how do we move forward from an issue of monitoring the quality of the workmanship? How do we monitor the execution of the projects? And how do we ensure that from time to time we've got independent observation and inspections of such infrastructure? Maybe as a country we could use the challenge we've seen with the bridge as a nationwide conversation, because we've seen the state of the infrastructure after implementation, and looking at the houses and some of the roads where the resources which could be utilized, like in building further units to the benefit of our community, has to be now channeled through to maintenance for work which has already been done.
What about unreal deadlines? Do we have a problem with unreal deadlines in the South African industry?
I would say the issue of deadline is dependent from project to project. And obviously one of the factors which affects the deadline is the issue of the liquidity of the projects, like the pricing, the pricing component and availability of the material. And from time to time, we've seen factors with the labor, risk coming into play. But however, I think there's generally experience is very important as well when we are accepting some of the time frames. But I do think that there has to be a level of accountability and the seriousness when you look into these type of things.
Now, going back to the incident that happened in Sandton, who has to take the responsibility for that? And are you surprised that it's been so quiet from the construction company in this instance?
Well, unfortunately, an incident like this becomes that of where, everyone has to now play some mudsliding. However, our view is that, government has to take the full responsibility and leadership in addressing something like this. And I believe the Gauteng government has moved in. There's different investigations that are taking place. And obviously, why government is critical in managing some of these challenges, it's because the safety of our people, the safety of the pedestrians, and generally there has to be a champion who will then ensure the full implementation and the monitoring of these infrastructure programs, and also to the benefit of where people will then have confidence back to these institutions and ensuring that the infrastructure we are exposed to on a daily basis are fully run compliant.
Well, I thank you for joining us. That is Mbasa Voyi. He's a partner at the Compliance Factory. We were talking about this incident where the bridge collapsed here in Gauteng. 2 people were killed on the spot. A couple others were seriously injured. Some of them are still in hospital. He says, well, it is about compliance at the end of the day. Time for us now to look at our question of the day before we go to the weather. Question of the day, is 60% still an unreasonable increase in university fees? Now, all the campuses have been shut down around the country. We ask you that question. Send us your tweet at SABC Newsroom or on Facebook. We'll pick it up. We'll put it on the board here. We'll talk around what you're thinking a little bit later. But right now, it's Phil Hawkins standing by with the weather.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, a lot going on in your weather for today, and we start off by taking a look at South Africa's southern coastline and the southeastern areas, because this is where low pressure systems are really concentrated for today. It's going to draw in a lot of moisture all the way throughout South Africa's eastern and southern coastlines there. You can see that's being drawn in as well by another low pressure system just further north there. It's being drawn in towards South Africa's eastern and central interior as well. Now, most of these showers and thunder showers are forecast only later into the day, particularly those in the northern and central areas of South Africa. Do expect showers, though, to continue, very light ones along the far northwestern areas of southern Africa there. Now, progressing into tomorrow, those low pressure systems move away from the coastlines of South Africa. They leave behind residual isolated to scattered showers and thunder showers throughout the entire area. It's moving away from Gauteng, and it is moving east as we move through the course of tomorrow. We're also seeing clearing conditions through most of the central and southwestern areas there as a result of an approaching higher pressure system, which is going to clear most of that up. Now, as we take a look at what's going on for today's conditions and your temperatures, Pretoria peaks at 33 degrees. A warm day continuing all the way throughout the northeast here. We're going to see temperatures rising mostly into the higher 20s and early 30s. A hot day for Uppington, 37-degree maximums forecast for you there. Along that southern coastline, a much more pleasant outlook, much cooler temperatures around the lower 20s. Now, southern Namibia peaks nice and high in the interior there, 33 to 38-degree maximums, and we're going to see some cloud cover making its way north. We might even see some rainfall coming towards some of the interior places such as Omaruru. 36-degree maximums forecast for you. And the capital Windhoek at 32. Not really expecting too much cloud cover, but a bit of rainfall in that area. Not much cloud cover whatsoever over Botswana for today. Gaborone peaks at 34 degrees, just missing out on the rainfall there for Gaborone, but the rest of Botswana expecting almost no cloud cover whatsoever. Very warm temperatures around 37 in Maun and 35 in Victoria Falls. So getting a little bit cooler as usual as we move towards Zimbabwe, but not by much whatsoever. Partly cloudy skies over the southeastern regions. And those continue as well towards Kulimane as well as Chimoyo. They extend north as well towards Kwamba and Lechinga. These areas are expecting isolated showers throughout the course of the day, most of which convection related. And of course, that means it's a result of warmer temperatures there. Beira also expecting that a 28-degree maximum forecast for you. Partly cloudy skies extending through southern Mozambique as a result of that lower pressure system we're talking about, which is affecting South Africa. Now, the interaction between high and lower pressure systems in southern Madagascar expected to result in a little bit of rainfall over Fafarangana as well as Fianarantsoa. Moving further north towards the capital of Antananarivo, 23-degree maximums. Cloud cover concentrated over Tomasina as well as Antananarivo for today. That's where I'm going to leave your weather for now. There's so much more coming up in the show, though, so do stay tuned.
Before you go, I just heard something from one of my colleagues. That bridge collapse that happened there, you were about a minute past the bridge when it happened. What, you were a blessed man, aren't you, huh?
I'm a blessed man. I was on my way home. I live very close to the area and actually walked there immediately after. So, yeah, it's a close call there, but I got out unscathed there.
Unscathed. There must have been absolute chaos at the time of this collapse, because that's the main, one of the main arteries here in Johannesburg.
Yeah, of course. It's a massive artery. I actually walked there and I had to make my way down Grayston Road just before they closed it off, and it was an absolute parking lot. I mean, you couldn't move whatsoever. I'm so glad that I wasn't in that traffic myself.
Well, Phil, we're glad that Phil is still with us here today. Thank you very much, Phil Hawkins, for that update. Time for us now to, well, almost time for us, top of the hour, 9:59 and a bit. Elvis is already standing by. I think we're just going to go straight to the news desk for an update.
SABC brings to you Rugby World Cup 2015.
Let's do this.
Now, Central Africa time on this Wednesday, the 21st of October 2015. Jumbo Africa, and a very warm welcome to the second hour. This is Newsroom on SABC News Channel 404. We are broadcasting live from our Auckland Park studios, Johannesburg, to the rest of the African continent. You have to stay with us as we bring you the latest news from here and around the globe. I'm Elvis Preston. I'll be your host until 12. But first, let's take a look at your news headlines. Students' organizations, COSAS is set to support university students across the country in their protest against an increase in tuition fees in what they call a National Day of Action campaign. Rhodes University students have started making their way to the front of the Rhodes Theatre, where students will assemble as part of the nationwide university shutdown. And political parties expect the Finance Minister, Nhlanhla Nene, to outline how money will be allocated to future budgets to fund struggling students at tertiary institutions when he tabled his medium-term budget policy statement today. Those are all your headlines, but coming up in a short while is your sports news, and Kendall Makamate is the man that will tell you more. Very good morning.
Good morning, Elvis. Thank you very much, and good morning to you at home as well. So coming up in a very short while in your sports, Jomo Cosmos holds Soweto Giants Kaizer Chiefs to a 0-0 draw as the PSL resumes. And this says Arsenal stopped the Bayern juggernaut, beating them 2-0 at the Emirates. And the Boks are feeling the pressure ahead of their Rugby World Cup clash against fierce rivals New Zealand at the weekend. And that, in a nutshell, is what you can expect in the sports at 10:20. Back to you, Elvis.
Thank you very much, Kendall. Right now, let's take a look at our top story. Student organization SASCO has called on all students to join today's national mass action. Several tertiary institutions have suspended classes ahead of continuing protests in support of the Fees Must Fall campaign. The universities of the Witwatersrand and Pretoria announced last night that they will be closed to allow for a national day of solidarity with the student protesting over tuition fee increases. Wits will remain closed until next Monday. The university says it recognizes the need to allow time for negotiations to take place to resolve the current situation. Students have vowed to continue with protest action. This, despite an announcement by Higher Education Minister Bladen Zamande that fee increases for next year will be capped at 6%. Let's stay with that story. The University of Pretoria says it has suspended all academic activities and support services on the campus to allow for peaceful engagement on key issues affecting the students. Now for the latest, let's now cross live to our reporter in Pretoria, Sipho Stierman. He is standing by with Pretoria University SASCO Secretary Thabo Shingange. A very good morning to you, Sipho.
Good morning to you, Elvis. Yes, we are here at University of Pretoria this morning, where students are protesting against the proposed fees increment for the year 2016. Now, one of the big issues that the student had here was that the registration fee was scheduled to increase from 5,000 to 7,500 in 2016. Students were saying this is a ridiculous increase of over 50%, and that they cannot accept this. And as you can hear in the background, the students are addressing each other now, mentioning what the cause of the protest is about. So maybe we can just listen in a little bit on what is happening here, just to allow them to finish with their speeches.
Invite the founding members of UP Rising for them to stand here so that you know who are the people who are standing willing to take bullets for you, even if those bullets are in the form of suspension. Can they just stand here so we can just see their faces?
All right, if I can just now come back in, it's the leaders of this protest that are coming through, and they are addressing the students, telling them of what's going on.
I'm going to call upon my lady to tell you why exactly we are here and what we are standing for.
Now that was a reporter in Pretoria, Sipho Stierman, on the University of Pretoria. We couldn't hear us that well, so we'll cross him later to find out what's happening. At the University of Cape Town, students have also resumed their protest action against an increase in tuition fees. They've blocked the entrance way to the lower campus as protests enter their third day. The students have vowed to reject the 6% cap on the 2016 tuition fees that the Higher Education Minister, Bladen Nzimande, announced yesterday. The UCT's fees increase was initially set at 10.3%. Operations at the campus have been shut down for the day. Beating on a drum and singing songs, the students have blocked off the entranceway by sitting in the middle of the road. Other students are slowly making their way down to join the group. They say they hardly had any sleep, but are continuing to put forth their fight for a no-fee increase. Security personnel are monitoring the protest. Meanwhile, Rhodes University students have started making their way to the front of the Rhodes Theatre, where students will assemble as part of the nationwide university's shutdown over the proposed increase in tuition fees. Academic activities have been suspended at the university since Monday. This after students embarked on a protest in which all entrances to the university were being shut down over the minimum initial payment. It's still unclear how long the protest or the student protest will continue, as they've rejected the university's decrease of the MIP from 50% to 20%. They've also expressed dissatisfaction that the fee increases will be kept at 6% for 2016. They say they are already struggling with the current university fees. The students say they will mobilize every student to participate in the march, as fees affect everyone. Now for the latest on the varsity protest, let's now cross live to Wits University, where our reporter Makhetla Mohlabe is standing by with Boy Majola. She is the president of the Africa Education Governors Association of South Africa. A very good morning to you once again.
Good morning to you, Elvis. Thanks so much indeed. I have our guest here, special parent indeed. She's telling me that she has got children, but they never managed to go to varsity because she couldn't afford, and she still can't afford. She is joining us right now. Ms. Majola, could you please tell us why are you coming here to be part of this protest?
My name is Bui Majola, but originally Buiswa Mayatula Majola. I'm here to support the cause within which this protest is taking place, and to also say to our leadership, they must not try and compromise the lives and the livelihoods of our children by attaching it to percentages, whether it's 6% or whatever it is that they're saying. And the segregative statements that are made by the minister to say those that can afford must pay and those that can't afford will be therefore adhered to. I think that is a very segregative message. And I'm also saying to parents, you have a responsibility and obligation to come and support these children. When they don't get educated, it's us at home that suffer. It's you presently that are suffering. Our children are being ostracized. They are being dehumanized by the right that actually we confirmed that it is going to be their lifetime within our society. South Africa, therefore, cannot be driven into the ditch by whoever's agenda. I'm standing here saying, parents, rise above whatever it is that is containing you in your fleshy cars, in your fleshy houses, in your fleshy restaurants. While you are sipping nice coffee, wherever you are, you must know that another child is losing a life, because when you dehumanize a child through this system that the minister and his office is introducing, you are actually killing South Africa going forward.
As parents, how much does this affect you there at home? You are the ones, of course, who are paying these fees. How much does this affect you?
Wow. We are complaining about kids that are lost cause. We are complaining about children that are nomayini. Those nomayinis, most of them are from these academic facilities. They could not pay their fees, and therefore, because the parents cannot afford, they turn into drugs. They can turn into criminal activities. Why are we perpetuating the tendencies that we are saying we're fighting? Are we happy that our children are floating on the streets saying, I have a 1 year in BA degree, I once was in an FET college, but I have nowhere to work? Are we happy that the parents are staying at home saying the government must give them grants on the basis that their offsprings cannot cater for them? Through education, we can empower these children. These children are the future. We are depending on our children to actually take the light and march forward and bring back the dignity of human beings in South Africa and Africa at large. So therefore, I call upon the Minister of Education, Black Zimanda, don't you dare use parents. You are a parent. Don't disorganize this country through calculating 6% and every other percent thereof and attach it as a benchmark of the value of this education. And I'm also saying these children are so respectful. I have witnessed what they are going through inside there. I have been there. They are mopping the floors. Whose child has been brought to this facility to be a cleaner? We, some of us, have taken our children to this facility to become doctors, to become something of themselves. But how dare do us as leadership then therefore say they cannot become what we have promised them, and they are rightfully so be that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We highly appreciate your time. There you are, Elvis. The message is clear to the parents. Please come and support the children here at Wits University or perhaps across the country. These are the children that have been fighting the fee hikes for next year. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you so much for that update. That's the update there from Wits, and we're going to continue giving you an update. We're asking you that question as well. Is 6%, the 6% increase that is being proposed, Is that a reasonable increase for student fees? That's our question to you. You can let us know what's on your mind on the Twitter feed, Twitter handle at SABC Newsroom. Let us know what's on your mind. Meanwhile, tensions are running high at the Potchefstroom campus of the Northwest University. Now, that follows attempts by some students to remove the statue of Tertius. The students, organized under Perform or Reform PUC, are calling for transformation at the university. They also demand that Afrikaans no longer be used as a medium of instruction on the campus. Other students formed a human chain around the statue in an effort to protect its possible removal. Tertius is famed for having translated the Bible to Afrikaans. Some students say there are more serious issues on the campus. Breaking story now. Police in KwaZulu-Natal are investigating 8 counts of murder after 8 people believed to be from the same family were killed in Msenzini on the province's south coast. Police spokesperson Tulani Zwane says the victims include 4 men, 2 women and 2 babies. He says the motive for the killing is unknown. For more on the story, we are now joined on the line from Mzini by our reporter Ayanda Mshlongo. Ayanda, very good morning to you and welcome. Ayanda, could you tell us what is the latest on the murder of the 8 people?
A very good morning to you, Elvis. Well, Elvis, it is an extremely brutal scene and one that has completely shocked this rural area of Mtsinini here near Umthwalume. As I speak to you, we arrived here about 30 or so minutes ago, and obviously, as you can see here behind me, we have the police tape. The police officers are still busy working on the scene with the forensic experts as well. The information is still trickling in very slowly on exactly what happened. But as you mentioned, yes, 8 people, we understand, 8 people were killed, were hacked to death, we understand. Just to get more information, as I said, we've only been here just about 30 minutes or so, and obviously the police are still busy with their work, and we haven't yet been able to get an opportunity to speak to some of the members of the community. But with me, I have the spokesperson for the police in KwaZulu-Natal, Colonel J. Naika. Colonel, thank you very much for your time. A terrible, terrible incident. Colonel, if you can just briefly give us information on what exactly happened from what you know at the moment.
And in the early hours of this morning, our police at Msenzini police station were contacted and informed that this homestead in the Mabaleni area came under attack from an unknown group of individuals. And what greeted them when they arrived on the scene, as you said, is quite horrendous. 8 individuals were attacked. It would seem like they were hacked to death. 4 of them children, very young children for that matter. We immediately summoned the necessary experts to the scene, and the investigation began immediately in the very early hours of this morning. Subsequent to that, we took 3 individuals in for questioning. The provincial commissioner has directed that the Hawks should take over the investigation, so the suspects as well as the investigation has been taken over by the Hawks, who are busy with the scene at this moment.
Colonel, any survivors?
Well, at this stage, there is an individual that we are actually taken in for protective custody. The necessary investigation will be conducted by Hawks to give us a more clearer picture of what transpired, as well as what could possibly be the motive for this attack.
Colonel, thank you very much for your time. Colonel J. Naika, just explaining to us from the police side and giving us more details there, Elvis, on what happened. It's a horrendous story. We are going to be continuing to follow it, Elvis. There are still local leadership that have arrived on scene. The local Inkosi, we understand, is also here. We have government officials that have also arrived here on scene. We will be chatting with them and also speaking to neighbors of this family. An entire family wiped out in a single night, except, of course, for the one survivor that Colonel Naika spoke about. Elvis, for now, I'm going to take things back to you in Johannesburg, but as I said, it's a story that we are on site and we're going to continue to follow.
Ayanda Mshlongo, our reporter on the scene. Now, economists say that the medium-term budget policy statement that the Finance Minister, Nhlanhla Nene, will present today will give some clues on tax changes that might be on the cards. They say that they will look out for hints on possible tax changes in next February's budget. The market expects the Finance Minister to remind South Africans about the work of the Davis Tax Commission, particularly those recently published on VAT for public comment. Most market participants foresee scope for a VAT hike in coming years as the government seeks to broaden its tax base. But next year's local government elections could see its implementation temporarily put on hold. Police have used tear gas and grenades to disperse protesting students at the Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University in Port Elizabeth in the Eastern Cape. The students started protesting this morning as part of the nationwide protest against proposed increases in tuition fees. They've been blocking the entrance to the university. Now, for the latest, we are now joined on the line from Port Elizabeth by our reporter Abongile Dumako. Abongile, very good morning to you and welcome. And can you tell us what have been the protests? What has the protesters been telling you about what is happening on campus?
Good morning to you, Elvis. Basically, from the very early hours of this morning, we've seen quite a bit of, I'd say, violence from the police's side because on arrival here, we could notice that students were actually seated at the entrance of the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro University, sitting down on the road, and then police started firing rubber bullets to the learners rather, and of course there was some tear gas that we witnessed. But at this very moment, it's relatively calm, but it's still quite chaotic in the sense that learners are still blockading the entrance to the north and south campuses of the NMMU. They are actually sitting down in solidarity with the call that has been made nationally for no schooling and no teaching at all institutions of higher learning in the country.
What has been the response from the university management?
We unfortunately have been trying our level best to get a view or a comment from the university's management. We've been sort of put on hold in the sense that they're telling us that Vice Chancellor is held up in meetings, but it's going to avail himself during the course of the day, hopefully later this afternoon. And as a result, that has sort of angered the learners here. Students are saying that if management, if they really cared about what they are complaining about, would have been with them by now. So that also has sort of raised eyebrows amongst the students here at NMMU. However, it's a matter of waiting and see for the Vice Chancellor to come to the fore and give us an update or a view or a comment with regards to what is happening at the institution here today.
Just briefly, in other universities there was some violence. What is the security situation there?
Quite a heavy police presence here, Elvis, I can tell you, from the very early hours of the morning. You remember that the protest here at NMMU started late last night, so they've been camping outside the entrance of the university from late last night up until this very moment. They're actually holding some guns with them, and they're literally looking out for anything that might come out in as far as disturbing is concerned. So there's quite a heavy police presence here.
Abongile, thank you so much for that report. That's our reporter from Port Elizabeth, Abongile Dumako. Right now, let's take a break, and Kendall Makamate will be back with your sports news after that.
Well, welcome back. I was busy getting the show ready for you to make sure that you've got it all right. Now, our very first story, our top story, is this. A feisty Jomo Cosmos stood toe-to-toe with mighty Kaizer Chiefs last night, holding them to a 0-0 draw at a packed Olin Park in Potchefstroom. And Golden Arrows stunned SuperSport United, beating them 2-1 in their own backyard. Now, here are the highlights.
Maybe do it a day or two later. Now, chance for Cosmos. Real chance for Cosmos. Can they bury it? Side netting. Come to an end, but in just league terms, yeah. Here they are. Mangale! Beautiful control, but it won't count. They'll have to calm themselves down.
Masilela.
Flag is still down! Naika gets down. Denies Mangale. Mashumba. From a long way out. Ooh, that trouble beaters her. Before that, Celtic ball in, far post. Shaba looking to get in on the action in the aerial duels. Now has a chance from Tembu. Off of the bar. Was he beaten? Did he get a touch? It has started with him having to change socks. And now! Oh, he's saved by the crossbar. Then comes up with a save. Wow, Naka!
Phansi umphathele inkawungenja kona ikhawulezayo kwakhona Kanyeza uguqula wegoba nalithuba elihle wababa lehlale emnatheni Golden Arrows yabhalisa suka.
Here's Arrows. Mahashi, does he make it through? The answer is there for you to see. At the moment, we're seeing Tusapala attacking on the right-hand side, and he has a chance, an equalizer. In actual fact, he's pulled one back. It's not an equalizer. It is a Kingston Carter that pulls one back for SuperSport United.
Right, now which brings us to this, a quick reminder of where the results stood last night. Just the two matches played from last night. As you can see behind me at the Lucas Muripe Stadium, Golden Arrows pulling off an upset. 2-1 to beat SuperSport United, and a 0-0 draw for Jomo Cosmos and Kaizer Chiefs at Olin Park. Now, there will be more action in the Absa Premiership tonight, and that action's got quite a few more teams playing tonight. It's Wednesday, the 21st of October. First up at Orlando Stadium, Orlando Pirates against Bidvest Wits, and then Tuks, they travel to Cape Town to play Ajax Cape Town. Bloem Celtic, they host Mamelodi Sundowns. Black Aces and Platinum Stars, the two top teams in the PSL so far. They're up against each other at the Mbombela Stadium. Maritzburg United, they host Chipa United, and Polokwane City will be seeing if they can get 4 points against Free State Stars. All matches kicking off at 7:30 p.m. Now, Arsenal stopped the Bayern juggernaut last night, beating them 2-0 at the Emirates, and Chelsea only managed a draw in Kiev. Barca got all 3 points on offer against Bate. Now, here are the highlights of these matches.
In from Santi Cazorla, there's Koscielny, Neuer came rushing, and it's gone in off Giroud. In comes Bellerin, and Bellerin powers past the next man too, and Ozil, Neuer's in the way, and Oxlade-Chamberlain's got too much. It's hit the deck and bounced over. Now, has the goal been given? It has. It went over the line from Ozil. Vida. Oh, Begovic was beaten for Yowski's effort. Desperately unlucky. He doesn't break for Matic or Cahill. Yarmolenko for Donis Gonzalez. Kravitz is in the middle. Yarmolenko wants it played back. Begovic got the angle right at the near post. It's it away. Almost a dangerous ball back into the fray. It was a very poor clearance which forced for Sidorchuk. Begovic, very grateful.
From when the sides met in Minsk 4 years ago. Here's Rakitic. Oh, there is the opening goal. Rifled into the roof of the net by Ivan Rakitic. The first half substitute for Sergi Roberto. Neymar. On to Rakitic again. 2-0. Beautifully finished by the Croatian.
Now, here's a summary of the results from last night's action in the UEFA Champions League. It's coming up behind me, and literally a whole bunch of teams playing all the way from Group E through to Group H. Bate Borisov 2-0 against Barcelona. Leverkusen 4, Roma 4. That was a veritable goal fest. 8 goals scored at the Bayer Arena. Then Arsenal beating Bayern München 2-0. It had been 12 matches in all competitions that Bayern had been winning up until this particular match. Zagreb, they lose 1-0 to Olympiacos. In Group G, Chelsea 0-0 against Dynamo Kiev, and Maccabi Tel Aviv, they lose again, this time to Porto 2-0, and St. Petersburg 3-1 against Lyon. Valencia, they beat Caen 2-1. Now to tonight's fixtures, where you'll see exactly what's happening. Those we'll be able to show you at a later stage. We'll make sure that we've got that for you in the next bulletin. Now, moving on to other sports stories, the South African rugby team is under serious pressure going into this weekend's Rugby World Cup semi-final against New Zealand. The team is undertaken to focus on what they want to achieve against their greatest rivals and not what they'll be seeking to avoid, namely a semi-final exit after having gone through so much as a team.
The Springboks have relocated to Guildford on the southwest extreme of the London commuter belt. It's the heartland of Middle England, but with a few reminders of home on the local high street. The locals are also quite chuffed to be hosting the Boks.
Probably a first. It's good to see them. I mean, they're one of the top teams in the competition, one of the favourites, I should think.
Oh, it's great. I mean, they're training down at the sports centre and everything, and it's good facilities. Yeah, great. Good to see them here. I wish them best of luck, but they're going to need it against the next lot.
Meanwhile, the Springboks are gearing up for another chapter in their epic rivalry with the All Blacks. However, they're trying to keep things in perspective ahead of the semi-final.
Playing for the Springboks is, I mean, there's an incredible heritage and incredible history, but at the end of the day, I think sometimes that history can almost like be like a millstone on your neck, millstone around your neck, because like you play with added pressure. I think the guys just wanted to play for each other.
Getting the balance right at a World Cup is always tricky, particularly in the back line where the blend of youth and experience is working well. Senior players like JP Peterson will be called upon to assume even more responsibility, especially against the likes of New Zealand's turbo winger, Julian Severe.
It's a very good player. It's a difficult customer, and I know it's going to be a hard challenge and a difficult battle for me. But it's rugby. It's you live for challenges and you live for moments like this. So come Saturday, I'll bring my best, and I'm sure he will bring his best, and we will have a good challenge on Saturday.
The team is still keeping tabs on Luit de Jager, whose pulled tendon in his foot remains a concern.
If there's one team in World Rugby against whom you can be assured that the Springboks will lift their game, it's the All Blacks. These two teams know each other so well, and it's that familiarity that brings with it some explosive contests. The question is, do the Springboks have anything more to give? They've already been running at full steam this entire tournament. Simon Burke, SABC News, Guildford.
And that is where we leave it with the sport. Up next, quick break. We'll be back with more news. Stay close.
Welcome to Network, a technology news program that also discusses what's trending in social media in and around Africa. MTN has launched its new movie and television streaming service, Front Row. If it's trending, we will find it. That's Network with me, Spumelele Zondi, every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. only on the SABC News channel.
SABC News team will bring you live coverage of the Tanzanian elections 2015. From Dar es Salaam, Zanzibar, and Morogoro, Tanzania elections 2015.
This is Rights and Recourse.
This act says we are all the same, we are all equal before the law.
I have a fundamental problem with her saying that traditional leaders are recognized as the de facto owners of the land. That isn't in the Constitution, nor is it in any law.
Unpacking your legal rights and cost of action.
The Constitution starts from the point that we are one country and that we need to have a system that actually consolidates that, but also recognizes the different compositions of different communities.
With due respect to Aninka, I know she is happy that her queen in England, she's the owner of the whole land, she's not having any politics.
Chief Mukwena, we will get to some of the other issues.
You must withdraw that Aninka's Queen of England. Please, that's completely unacceptable.
That's Rights and Recourse, Sundays at 2 p.m. on the SABC News channel. We ask tough questions.
Have you spoken to the president about resigning?
We ask hard questions.
What you're trying to do requires a lot of money and you don't have money.
We ask quick questions.
A quick one. You are aware that the PAC has now been banned by the IEC?
I'm aware.
And you're also aware that it has been banned because of you?
We ask good questions.
Are you an infiltrated organization?
We also ask funny questions.
Is it safe to eat your chicken?
All the questions, all the time, right here on Question Time, Monday to Thursday at 5:30 p.m.
Get all the latest news from the SABC's online news services on our website. Breaking news and in-depth coverage of everything from business, sports to politics and lifestyle. Catch the top news clips and watch live streaming of major news events on the SABC News YouTube channel whenever. Stay connected on the SABC News Facebook page and have your say on news that matters to you. And for the latest headlines and live updates from our reporters, follow us on Twitter. SABC Digital News, anytime, anywhere.
Wonderful performance there. That's the best traditional dance troupe in Egypt. Now, they were in South Africa last night for a folklore and cultural evening that was hosted by the Egyptian Embassy, along with Egyptian business and the tourism authority in this country. Now, with me in studio, I've got the press counsellor for the embassy, Mr. Ahmed Mohammed Sharaf. A very good morning to you. Yes. And then the manager of the best dance troupe in Egypt, they are Mr. Ahmed Shafee. A very good morning to you, you gentlemen. Thank you for joining us.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for having us.
Fantastic performance by the ladies, yeah, and they're beautifully dressed. Tell us a little bit about traditional Egyptian dance. If I can start with you, sir.
Of course, we have these folkloric dances. These dances is from all around the Egypt. We have many different dances from different places. The places, for example, beside the beach, we have, and beside the coasts, we have a very interesting dances, and from Upper Egypt and from different places. So this is a folklore of modern dancing in Egypt, and this is one of the best teams we have. We have here in South Africa, and we are very keen to have also dancers from your country to our country. This is very important for us to interact with each other by art and to interact with cultures by art. This is the best ambassador for us.
Now, Mr. Shafi, you're the manager of this team. Tell us a little bit about the work that you guys do and also about last night's performance at the folklore evening.
امبارح بالنسبة للعرض اللي قدموه امبارح حضرتك تتكلم عنه.
احنا عملنا عرض امبارح على مدى ساعة. احنا دي اسمها الفرقة القومية للفنون الشعبية. دي فرقة حكومية موجودة في مصر. دي عمرها حوالي 55 سنة.
This team is established since 55 years, and this is one of the best in Egypt, and it's called the National Troupe for Dance, for folkloric dances and for art. And this is one of the most popular teams, not only in Egypt, in South Africa and in the Arab world, and they performed, of course, in many other countries all around the world.
Tell us a little bit about the importance of this kind of introduction to South Africa and the cultural experience and the experience that you guys have had in South Africa thus far.
Of course, as I told you before, it's the best ambassador for us is to have this cultural events between the two countries, now Egypt and South Africa. Egypt is very keen just to tighten the relationship with South Africa by this kind of arts. And also we know that you have a very good teams, so we just looking forward that we have teams from your country to our country, because these things just show the culture of the two countries and how they can interact together. And I think and I believe that this is something very important in our era which we live in.
Now, I understand this is a collaboration between the Egyptian Tourism Authority and the embassy. In aid of this, what is this kind of introduction between the two countries? Are we going to see more of these kinds of things?
We hope so. We do our best just to make a cooperation with many tourist companies here in South Africa and in Egypt, so we can make more performances between the two countries. We are preparing for that, and we will try to do that as soon as possible, to have many shows with different folkloric dancing and many other kinds of arts, of course.
Maybe you can ask the manager, Mr. Shafi, to tell us a little bit about the preparation that goes in and how this is one of the best dance troupes. How do they prepare themselves for these kinds of performances?
ازاي حضروا نفسهم للعرض ده او بيحضروا يعني عادة انتوا بتحضروا نفسكم ازاي لما بتسافروا تعملوا عرض زي ده؟
هو انا بس كنت عايز اكمل بالنسبة للسؤال الاولاني ان الفرقة القومية هي اقدم فرقة حكومية موجودة في مصر. اوكي.
This is a team which work with the government of Egypt just to promote for tourism and culture of Egypt all around the world, and this is the oldest one. This is the oldest team.
الفرقة القومية معنية بتقديم الفن الشعبي أو التراث الشعبي في شكل استعراضي، يعني احنا بنستلهم الرقصة من بيئتها ونقدمها في شكل استعراضي على الستيج.
We just try to show our environment in different places in Egypt through art and through dance and singing.
عندنا في الفرقة القومية في مدرسة لتعليم النشء أو الشباب الصغير الرقص حتى يصل إلى السن دوت ونقدر نقدم بيه عرض كبير قدام الجمهور.
And the dancers and the performance began very young. We have a school just to train those youth to perform well, to reach the highest peaks of performance, just to begin to introduce our folkloric art all around the world.
عندنا العديد من الرقصات من جميع البيئات المصرية من الشمال إلى الجنوب من الشرق إلى الغرب.
We have different kind of dances coming from the folkloric dances all around Egypt, north and east, south and west, because we have different environments, so they can perform in different ways.
امبارح قدمنا 10 فقرات، احنا هنقدم النهارده فقرتين من اللي قدمناهم. احنا عندنا برنامج ممكن يصل الى ساعتين، بس حسب الفترة الزمنية احنا بنقدر نحدد الفقرات اللي نقدر نقدمها.
They can make a program and they can perform for 2 hours.
Wow, that's wonderful. Well, we've got another performance. Can you just tell us about the performance we're about to see while we start with the gentleman?
It's called the Tannoura performance. This is very famous in Egypt and something like a spiritual dances. It's about how to be contact with the globe just by going around in circles. I think it's better to see the dance.
Well, thank you for joining us. We're going to finish with this. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Performance that were very colourful. That was at, well, the Egyptian folkloric performance that was hosted here in Johannesburg last night. Now, we continue our focus on what's happening on the African continent. We go to the Central African Republic. Now, it's been faced with conflict there since the civil war that began on the 10th of December in 2012. Further conflicts have emerged since then between Christian and Muslim groups. Some analysts say that these conflicts continue to rise due to the country's resources, diamonds, gold, uranium, oil, hydroelectric potential, and the opportunities in agriculture. But let's take a look at a quick breakdown of the conflict situation there. Now, in the recent flare-up of violence there in the Central African Republic, children were deliberately being targeted. The conflicts killed at least 36 people and wounded more than 100 in the capital of Bangui. Reports from local organizations indicate that 3 boys aged between 16 and 17 were brutally killed, including one who was decapitated, while at least 2 boys and 2 girls ranging from 7 until 17 years old were wounded by gunshots or grenade fragments. Last week, 3 more people were killed when clashes broke out between the ethnic militias after a group of young Muslim boys were also attacked. But these are not the only incidents where children have been targeted. There are reports that children are being recruited as soldiers, and a few months ago, UN peacekeepers faced charges of sexual abuse against children in some areas of the country. Now, joining us on the line from Bangui in the Central African Republic is the United Nations International Children's Fund's representative, Mohammed Malik Fall. A very good morning to you, Mohammed. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you also for having me in your show.
Mohammed, if you can give us an idea, why are the youth, why are children being targeted specifically in the Central African Republic right now?
It is, I think, for several reasons. I mean, it's just that, as we say, violation of children's rights has got into such a larger scale here that you can witness it in so many fronts. The first one being the point you raised in your introduction, by mentioning the number of children who are associated with armed groups and who are used as a combatant, who are used as a messenger, who are used as a cook, or who are sexually abused. You do have also some other violence, which is the fact that they use children, for example, in the barricade. They use children in the shooting. They target children in the fighting. There are so many issues, and I think the most important aspect also is the fact that they are stopping children from accessing to basic social services, which are very critical, such as health, education, water, sanitation, nutrition centers. I mean, this is the situation we are facing now, grave violation of child rights here in Central African Republic.
Mohammed, how is the conflict and the targeting of schools in that area and school-going children, how is it affecting the schooling system then?
It is affecting very badly the schooling system. Just to give you an example, less than a month ago, on 21st of September, we have launched a back to school, which was a very promising initiative. given the support we received from the international community, namely the Global Partnership for Education, the European Union Development Component, the Association Française, the l'Agence Française de Développement, and we have launched for the first time during the past 6 years a kind of nationwide back to school. And we were happy to see across the country children, parents, teachers going back to the education system with a sense of normality. But a few days later, I think less than a week, the recent clash broke out and interrupted the education services. Today, it is sad to notice that in Bangui and in the countryside, we are having very low attendance of less than 20% of students returning to school. Teachers who are being redeployed in the countryside has been also halted. We are seeing also school occupied or insecurity on the road to school, stopping children or creating fear for parents to send their children to school. That's what we are facing. But however, we are working with partners. Held a meeting last two days ago with the Minister of Education to try to remobilize the education cluster network, the education partner, to make sure that at least this process that has started 3 weeks ago will be continuing and that children will be getting back to school, because it's a basic right for every child to access to education. It's not a privilege, but it is also a sense of normalcy and a signal of a return to peace. And as the minister was saying, the other people, they have guns, and maybe it's with their guns they threaten people. We will use knowledge, we will use education as a means of promoting peace, reconciliation, and social cohesion.
Finally, just tell us about the rumors about children being recruited as child soldiers. How true is this? And if so, what is being done to address it?
As you know, Central African Republic had one of the worst situations among those countries that are facing conflict in terms of number of children recruited. Our counting was mentioning that we are between 6,000 to 10,000 children associated with armed group in different forms, as I say earlier, and taken to a proportion by 100,000 people. This is a situation that we see is even worse than what is happening today in South Sudan, DRC, or Chad, or another neighboring country that are facing also conflict. What we have done was to engage with the armed group earlier this year, taking the opportunity and the momentum created around the Bangui Forum, and managed to sign an agreement with the 10 armed groups that are acting here in Central African Republic, so that they take a commitment not only to release the children they have with them, but to not recruit children in the future, associating them with their armed struggle. Since then, we have started rolling a process of release and reintegration, which has led to around 800 children already released, but this process has been also delayed and halted by the recent conflict that the country is witnessing.
Mohammed, I thank you for joining us. We've run out of time, unfortunately. That's Mohammed Malik Fall, who's with UNICEF, talking about child soldiers and children being targeted in the Central African Republic. Now, although the conflict in the CAR has caused tens of thousands to flee the country in search of refugee camps, there's one man who is trying to spread hope and joy in the camps with his guitar and a little bit of music.
Easy to Simplice. Polio left him disabled as a child. As an adult, war has cost him everything. Violence forced him to flee his home. For more than a year, he's been living in a camp next to Bangui's airport. But Simplice refuses to give up. Music is his refuge.
Je suis très optimiste parce que ça arrive dans d'autres pays, ça arrivé et les gens ont surmonté et après les gens ont travaillé fort et la chose a changé.
As stability slowly returns to the city, Simplice is one of those headed home. In the camp, he uses his music to spread messages of peace.
on a dit, bon, mais il faut mettre un groupe musical en place. Il faut animer un peu le site avec de bonnes paroles, des paroles de cohésion sociale, des paroles de paix, comme ça va effacer un peu l'idée de guerre, l'idée de...
The band, named Handy Music, features fellow displaced and disabled musicians. At the height of the conflict, the Mpoko site became home to more than 100,000 displaced people.
Well, that was a look at the Central African Republic. Now, as we head into the festive season and we begin to plan our vacation, sometimes we need to look a little bit closer to home. Although we might think that it's not safe to travel around the continent, Africa has beautiful places to visit, with Tanzania gaining the spotlight this week as they head into the elections on the weekend. That's on Sunday. We thought we'd have a look at the travel must-sees in this country and what you should be, well, you should be giving a miss. Joining us in studio today is the Managing Director of the Dash Travel Agency, Zenobia Moolman. A very good morning to you, Zenobia. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for being here. Thank you.
When we travel, often we let go a little bit.
Yes.
Tanzania is the focus this week. It's a beautiful country. I think one of those undiscovered gems really on the African continent. What are the things that people should be careful or should be on the lookout for when they travel there?
I think the most important thing for us as South Africans is as soon as we leave South Africa, we think that we're going to a totally different place and we forget what we should actually remember, that we're a tourist in another country.
Mm-hmm.
The most important thing I think that we always have to respect is the culture, the crime situation, and also religion. Especially in Tanzania, Zanzibar especially is a Muslim, predominantly Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
There is they are having their elections now on Sunday, so there will be a little bit of problems we're anticipating. So just be careful. You know, when you stay in your hotel, stay in your hotel. Don't wander around. Don't walk alone. Don't try and rent a car and drive around. It's not really safe to do that unless you know exactly what you're doing beforehand. You have to have a planned...
Yeah, a plan like you would have a plan in Johannesburg, like you'd have a plan in Cape Town. There's some places that you go to and some that you have to be a little bit careful. But the main attractions, it's a beautiful country. What are the main attractions, the things that people don't know about in Tanzania?
Well, for South Africans, I think most of us, we associate Tanzania with Zanzibar, beach holidays, beautiful snorkeling, and deep-sea diving. It's surrounded by coral. It's an archipelago, so it's beautiful. Then there's also the national parks. They've got some of the most amazing national parks in Tanzania. The migration that happens from December.
Yeah, the Masai Mara.
Starting from the Masai Mara to the Serengeti. That is a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Absolutely.
But it is expensive.
One of the things that you have to try and see in your lifetime. I wanted to ask you about the best times of the year to travel to Tanzania and East Africa in particular.
It's a tropical country, so they equator... weather's very much like the equator, so it's really never a really bad time to go. December to June is normally the best time to go. December, January, if you want to go and climb Kilimanjaro. Rainy season, about May to October. Apart from that, it's always beautiful weather there.
And other things around customs and entry that you should be aware of, things, you know, normal traveller stuff, one would think.
Yeah, the airports are good. The customs is good. There's no visas required for South Africans. There's business visas required for businessmen. But they really do the Dar es Salaam, not really the tourist part. Customs is really not a problem. It's not an issue. And there's not really any serious health precautions necessary. So
no malaria alerts?
No. They had a cholera outbreak now, but it's contained.
Well, that's the good news. Thank you very much for joining us today, telling us a little bit about Zenobia. Zenobia is going to be joining us periodically, hopefully every week, to give us an insight as we go into the festive season. Where are the areas that you should travel to? What are the hidden gems around the continent? And more importantly, what you should be on the lookout for if you're a smart traveller. Zenobia, thank you for joining us. She's the Managing Director of the Dash Travel Agency here in Johannesburg. Somebody who knows all about what it takes to get around the continent, wherever You are. Thank you once again for joining us. Just to remind you, of course, Tanzania has an election on Sunday, presidential elections in that country. Our contributing editor, William Volko, is traveling there today. Hopefully we'll be able to cross live there from tomorrow, bring you updates as we build up to the election weekend in that country. Well, time for us to go to a break. Elvis is standing by with an update next.
SABC News team will bring you live coverage of the Tanzanian elections 2015. From Dar es Salaam, Zanzibar, and Morogoro, Tanzania elections 2015.
Welcome to Network, a technology news program that also discusses what's trending in social media in and around Africa. MTN has launched its new movie and television streaming service, Front Row. If it's trending, we will find it. That's Network with me, Spumelele Zondi, every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. only on the SABC News channel.
Good. Boy. Sit.
Get behind Rugby World Cup 2015 on SABC.
In Africa, mobile devices are tools to make payments, browse the internet, and keep governments in check with social media forums.
It's given an average African too much power in their hands.
And tech creativity is solving some of the continent's problems.
Everything is internet driven.
And on Network, we tell you how Africans are using technology and social media in their everyday lives.
Join Siphumelele Zondi on Network every Sunday at 19:30 CAT.
It's 1100 hours Central Africa time on Wednesday, the 21st of October 2015. Jumbo Africa, and a very warm welcome to the final hour here on Newsroom. This is Newsroom on SABC News Channel 404. Let's now take a look at all your headlines. Examinations have officially been suspended at the University of Limpopo's Turfloop campus as a result of the student protest campaign. Rhodes University students have started making their way to the front of the Rhodes Theatre, where students will assemble as part of the nationwide university's shutdown. Political parties expect the Finance Minister, Nhlanhla Nene, to outline how money will be allocated to future budgets to fund struggling students at tertiary institutions when he tables his medium-term budget policy statement later today. Those are all your headlines, but coming up in your sports news is the man himself, Kendall Makhamate, to tell us more. Morning.
Good morning, Elvis, and very hearty good morning to everybody out at home. Now, coming up in a very short while in your sports, Jomo Cosmos holds Soweto Giants Kaizer Chiefs to a 0-0 draw as the PSL resumes. And this is Arsenal stopped the Bayern juggernaut, beating them 2-0 at the Emirates. And the Boks are feeling the pressure ahead of their Rugby World Cup clash against fierce rivals New Zealand at the weekend. And that, in a nutshell, is what we've got for you in terms of the sports. Coming at 11:30 in this hour. Back to you, Elvis.
Thank you, Kendall. Let's now take a look at your top story this hour. Examinations have officially been suspended at the University of Limpopo's Turfloop campus as a result of the student protest campaign. Meanwhile, Student Association SASCO has called on all students to join today's national mass action. Several tertiary institutions have suspended classes ahead of the continuing protests in support of the Fees Must Fall campaign. The universities of the Witwatersrand and Pretoria announced last night that they will be closed to allow for a national day of solidarity with students protesting over tuition fee increases. Vets will remain closed until next Monday. The university says it recognized the need to allow time for negotiations to take place to resolve the current situation. Students have vowed to continue with protest action. This despite an announcement by Higher Education Minister Blade Nzimande that fee increases for next year will be capped at 6%. Now, the University of Pretoria says it has suspended all academic activities and support services on the campus to allow for peaceful engagement on key issues affecting the students. For the latest now, let's cross live to our reporter in Pretoria, Sipho Steerman. He's standing by with Pretoria University SASCO Secretary Thabo Shingange. A very good morning to you once again, Sipho. Over to you.
Well, very good morning to you, and I must say that the University of Pretoria student protest is in full swing here. Students gathered at the Student Center just recently, and now they are moving along the campus to continue with their demonstrations. And the message is simple and clear that tax fees must fall, and the students say that they do not want any more increments on fees. And they actually had a 13-point list of demands, which include that no interest on outstanding student debt. And they're saying that food at residences, the prices must also come down. But to tell us more about these demands, as you mentioned, we are joined by the SASCO Secretary here at Tax, Thabo Shingange, to just tell us, Thabo, the Minister yesterday announced a 6% cap on all university fee increments. And he had urged students to compromise when dealing with this matter. What is your response as the University of Pretoria students?
Thank you very much for having me. I think the Minister must understand that students are the main stakeholders of an institution of higher learning. Students are demanding a 0% increment across the board. He's not a student, he works in Parliament, he's earning lots of money, our parents are unemployed, they are poor, we cannot afford tuition fees. We demand a 0% increment across the board, and that's something he must compromise to.
All right, and interestingly, my observation here is that this protest has attracted a diverse range of students from different backgrounds and different colors. How did you guys manage to get the buy-in of all students from all these backgrounds as the leaders?
I mean, at the University of Pretoria, the fees dramatically increased. I don't even think it's legal, the rate at the increased at. And it's not a racial thing. I think people must, the society must generally stop confusing poverty to primarily black people only. A lot of people, a lot of diversified groups out there are poor as well, and therefore we try to appeal to as many people as possible because it's a financial crisis, it's a student crisis, and students have responded to our call.
And I understand that a bit later, the Vice-Chancellor, Prof. Cheryl Delare, is going to be addressing students. What are you hoping to hear from her?
It's the Vice-Chancellor, it's simple. We're not here to negotiate with the Vice-Chancellor. Hers is to convene council. We want her to call the chairperson of council to come and convene council here at the Student Center, which we'll be occupying. And we want an open and democratic, transparent council meeting such that they can hear the student demands and ratify our student demands, basically. So her coming here, I don't even think she must address the students, because the only time we see the Vice-Chancellor is during open day. She has failed. We've went there numerous times trying to engage with her, and she has failed to respond to students. Now we want her to call council and actually convene council in front of students, because we're tired of talking to her. She has failed to respond to our calls.
All right, well, thank you. That is the SASCO Secretary here at Tax explaining to us that they are not going to compromise, as the Minister of Higher Education urged students that to compromise and actually meet universities halfway with the 6% increase capping. They're saying that 0 fee increment for this year, and they're standing behind that.
That was our reporter in Pretoria, Sipho Steerman, on the University of Pretoria campus. Now let's move on. Meanwhile, at the University of Cape Town, students have also resumed their protest against an increase in tuition fees. They've blocked the entranceway to the lower campus as the protests enter their third day. The students have vowed to reject the 6% cap on the 2016 tuition fees that the Higher Education Minister Blade Nzimande announced yesterday. The UCT's fees increase was initially set at 10.3%. Operations at the campus have been shut down for the day. Beating on a drum and singing songs, the students have blocked off the entranceway by sitting in the middle of the road. Other students are slowly making their way down to join the group. They say they've hardly had any sleep, but are continuing to put forth their fight for a no-fee increase. Security personnel are monitoring the protest. Now, police have used tear gas and stun grenades to disperse protesting students at the Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University in Port Elizabeth in the Eastern Cape. Students started protesting this morning as part of nationwide protests against proposed increases in tuition fees. They've been blocking the entrance to the university. Now, for the latest, we are now joined on the line from Port Elizabeth by our reporter Abongile Dumarco. A very good morning to you, Abongile. And what have been the protesters been telling you about what is happening there on campus?
Good morning, Elvis. Indeed, it's relatively calm thus far, which is quite a different story from what we witnessed here when we arrived in the early hours of this morning, where we've seen a number of students being shot at by police using rubber bullets. They were trying to disperse those crowds who were actually sitting at this very traffic circle I'm standing in right now. So currently they are further down at the North Campus. They're trying to force themselves into the admin block, but they have since been pushed away by police, whom we have seen being visible throughout the campus from the early hours of this morning. But basically now I'm joined by Amanda Didiza. He's a law student from Queenstown. He says he's in solidarity with what is happening here at the NMMU because he's one of those students who are from the rural Eastern Cape who are finding it difficult to actually afford fees here at NMMU. Amanda, good morning to you, and of course welcome to SABC News. You are here, you are protesting. What do you hope to see happen next?
Well, what I must first say is that student protest and student behavior is not random. It's guided by conditions that seek to oppress the students. And it's about time that the NMMU stood close in solidarity with this protest. And it's about time that we took a stand, because these hiking student fees are one that seeks to cripple the students. You know, education has now become a luxury for which we must pay exorbitant fees for. And what I want to see next is that the Office of the VC and all management and council should stand together, as well as the SRC, to fight for student fees and to decrease these student fees.
Okay, in accordance to what we've seen going on through the country, you know, with the Wits University having taken to the 4 roads in Grahamstown, we've seen a bit of violence even in Cape Town as well. What's your take on the fact that these protests end up being violent?
Yeah, I mean, this is a national student crisis. It's one that affects and appeals to every single student. You know, these are protests that are seen as undesirable behavior, and such undesirable behavior is a result of bad institutions. I think government and institutions need to realize that this is not just a random act of student negligence or any form of student behavior, but it is one that affects every single student, and is one that every student needs to stand in solidarity towards, because these are problems and these are areas that affect students from the pocket to the books.
Now, I understand that the Vice-Chancellor at NMMU, Derek Swartz, is meeting with you guys at 1 o'clock. What are you going to say when you see them in that meeting?
I think what's imperative is for us to have a mandate, one that seeks to suggest that fee increments must be accounted for. You know, if fees increase by about 10%, that 10% times 27,000 students is 2.7 million. That every cent must be accounted for. If better facilities are improved, then the institution should then inquire as to has they exhausted all other measures before they then result to an increment of students, because we're the weakest party. It's the one area that affects us, and it's on the results. It's imperative of the institution to then account for every single cent that they utilize and make sure that the student interests are protected.
Thank you so much, Amanda.
Thank you very much for your time.
Well, there you have it, Elvis. Quite adamant students here saying that they're going to continue with what they're doing because they believe it's within their rights that they are provided for free education so that they can be able to have the luxuries that some of the other students have had in the past. So that's it from here in PE for now. It's back to you in studio in Johannesburg.
Thank you so much from Port Elizabeth, our reporter Abongile Dumarco there. Let's stay with the story news just in. Exams at the University of Limpopo Turfloop campus have been suspended following disruptions this morning. Students and staff members were reportedly forced out of exam venues. Protesters are demanding that outstanding fees be scrapped and that there be no fee increments in the 2016 academic year. We will bring you more news as it becomes more available to us and let you know what's happening on the ground. We'll also try and get in touch with the reporter Nomawetu Solwandle in Cape Town to give you more on that protest there. Finance Minister Nhlanhla Nene will present the medium-term budget policy statement to Parliament this afternoon rather. The 2015 budget is aimed at rebalancing the fiscal policy to give greater impetus to investment, to support enterprise development, promote agriculture and industry, and to make our cities engines of growth. Now, for what the nation can expect this afternoon, we are joined from Parliament by our SABC's economics reporter, Francis Hurd. Francis, a very good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning to you, Elvis.
What can we expect from the 2015 medium-term budget, do you think?
Well, let's first clarify a mini budget or the medium-term budget policy statement is basically a review that comes between our main budget speeches in February. So this isn't a time where we actually allocate firm funds for issues or increase taxes. However, it is used as a guide towards where government is going. So it's projections of allocations for the next 3 years, say. Those could be refined in February. It gives us an idea of what government's thinking and also an idea about where the fiscus is, about how our state accounts are looking. And very tough for the finance minister this year because it's even worse than it was in February. We were already saying, that was a grim reality. He's now expected to look at Treasury's expectations for growth this year. The World Bank is saying we'll only grow at 1.4%, which is just dismal. So he may give an estimate, bringing down the previous estimate in February, something closer to 1.4, 1.5. So really it is going to be a reality check, but it's also a chance for him to, like you said, encourage investment, not only overseas investment, but we know that a lot of South African businesses are holding on to cash. So he'll want to maybe give the right noises to help people who are disillusioned to believe in this economy, to believe in the future. And very importantly, he'll have to talk about debt because the rating agencies are concerned that given our reality, we can talk about student protests, for example, many competing interests, but not much money, more money coming in. So it really, those rating agencies want to ensure that our government isn't going to succumb to the temptation to take on more debt.
Now, this presentation comes at a time when South Africa and the world economy is going through the worst, even China for that matter. Does the minister have room to maneuver and maybe pull a surprise on all of us?
I don't think so. Some people are looking out for what he will say, firstly on education, because of the protests that we've seen. I don't think there will be any change in that allocation. I think government can't afford a precedent where there are protests and 2 days later suddenly a new allocation for education. But he may mention it. He may say that government is looking at that. And we have so many conflicting needs in this country. A few minutes ago, there were primary school children here. They don't have the same loud voice, perhaps, but we know that that is crucial, the education of youngsters. Government wants to introduce the national health insurance. We may hear something on that. We didn't hear anything on nuclear plans in February. We are expecting a huge nuclear build at some stage, but basically the Treasury showing no signs of actually allocating any funds towards that. And Elvis, maybe in terms of surprises, he could give us some indication of what government is thinking on taxes for next year. Not likely, however, because the Davis Committee is still looking at some of the ideas, but he may suggest that government may have to look at VAT, and that's quite a thorny topic because VAT is what we pay on goods in the stores. It affects the poor because they actually spend a larger part of their salaries in the stores. Yeah. And some calling for a wealth tax, but I don't think we'll hear any surprises today.
Now, a voice that's very loud right now is all the university students. Are the university fees also perhaps going to come under the spotlight in face of the protest all over the country?
Well, we may see a protest. It sort of makes sense if students want to highlight their issues to come to Parliament today. But like I said, I think that the government cannot afford sort of making a knee-jerk reaction and suddenly allocating more to higher education. Already we have 30 billion rand allocated, some to the student fund, and there's concerns about how that money is being managed. That already the Minister Blade Nzimande has said that they will look at the regime. There's going to be a task team. We'll hear something in November. So I don't think we'll hear any reallocations, but maybe he will mention that this is ongoing. Maybe he will mention, and I think people need to understand that when we are not saving, when the economy is not growing and more taxes are not coming in, we have a problem in that if we allocate more money to higher education, for instance, that money has to be taken away from something else. Already, so many South Africans reliant on social grants. We have so many needs. We have people living in shacks without sanitation. So we have to realize that given the budget at the moment, it's either going to be a trade-off, and if more money goes to higher education, somebody will be losing out, or we'll have to take on more debt, which is dangerous because the rating agencies may then downgrade us. Then debt becomes even more expensive. We could land up spending more and more of the money that comes in just on servicing those debt costs. So the minister has to be very careful.
So strategic priorities need to be in place, and maybe those rating agencies that you're talking about, which some suggest are just standard and very poor, is having their beady eyes on our economy. But that's where we got to leave it. Francis, thank you so much for that input. That's our reporter, Francis Hurd, in Cape Town. Now, the trial of 4 men accused of mugging an SABC TV news crew at gunpoint has been postponed in the Johannesburg Magistrates Court. One of the defense lawyers was unavailable to represent his client. Alfred Ndlovu and Clement Ngube have been charged with robbery and aggravated circumstances, while Pascal Jr. and Modine face charges of possession of stolen goods. Magistrate Benita Oswell was forced to postpone the case after Junior's lawyer failed to show up for the appearance. The state indicated that it is ready to proceed with the trial. William Voko, Sophie Mukwena and 2 other journalists were robbed at gunpoint during a live crossing in March outside the Mill Park Hospital. And that's your news for now. We'll take a break, and Eben will be back with more reviews and interviews after that.
Good. Point. Sit.
Get behind Rugby World Cup 2015 on SABC.
We ask tough questions.
Have you spoken to the president about resigning?
We ask hard questions.
What you're trying to do requires a lot of money, and you don't have money.
We ask quick questions.
A quick one. You are aware that the PAC has now been banned by the IEC?
I'm aware.
And you are also aware that it has been banned because of you?
We ask good questions.
Are you an infiltrated organization?
We also ask funny questions.
Is it safe to eat your chicken?
All the questions, all the time, right here on Question Time, Monday to Thursday at 5:30 p.m.
Welcome back. Now, time for us to have a more regional focus, things that are happening around South Africa, affecting you at home, the loved ones of 5 people who drowned during a church baptism. And that was a ritual in Tabazimbi in Limpopo. Well, they believe the men were killed by some evil creature that resides in the river there. 5 members of the Sivumelwani Church in Zion drowned while carrying out baptism in the Crocodile River over the weekend.
It was supposed to be a happy day as new members were to be welcomed. But tragedy struck when a woman being baptized appeared to be drowning, prompting a quick rescue. The woman was rescued, but all 5 men vanished quickly. Those who were first on the scene say it was a traumatizing experience. Church members believe it was more than an accident. They believe some snake killed them. She says she heard the traditional healers and their students were also at the river performing rituals talking of a huge snake, and the next thing the men disappeared. 3 of the deceased are Swaziland nationals, whilst the other 2 came from the Eastern Cape. All of them worked at platinum mines in Northam. Details of funeral arrangements are yet to be finalized.
It was a real shocking story here in South Africa. Now, to discuss this a little bit further, we are joined here in studio by Pastor Ashley Julius, who's the leader of the Redeemed Gospel Church of South Africa. Pastor, good morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
A very sad story. One would never want to see this kind of thing at church functions and so forth. If I can just start with your reaction to this type of incident where 5 people drowned during a baptism.
Well, firstly, let me first convey my condolences to the bereaved family. A church, beautiful church function, celebratory function, should never end in such disaster. And my initial reaction was, did we do all that was necessary to have safety precautions put in place? Yeah, so that this type of incident never happens.
Yeah, that is the key question. One would hope that in hindsight that these matters will proceed a little bit differently in the future. But now, the interesting matter that I think you saw in the clip what came out, there were suggestions now from church members that the 5 congregants who drowned, they might have been overpowered by a snake or evil spirits and so forth. How do you view this kind of thing? And it seems that this is quite prevalent in rural South Africa, this type of belief.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, with all due respect to every denomination and religious groups, when we look scripturally as to as inviting or inciting that type of comment or belief system, we putting ourselves in danger. I can categorically state that our belief system that there would be a snake spirit within the water goes against what the Bible teaches.
Now, in this particular instance, the baptism took place in the Crocodile River, which at times can be quite a fast-flowing river, and it's one of the major arteries in the eastern parts of Southern Africa. Do you baptize congregants in that kind of way? If you can maybe tell us a little bit about how do you view this?
Well, firstly, when we attempt to do a baptism, it's vitally important that you look at the danger that is associated with it. Firstly, a river is not really conducive for baptizing, based upon the fact that you would need to have an ambulance on the premises wherever you're going to be baptizing. Secondly, you've got to be in touch with the Weather Bureau as far as water currents and that type of thing is concerned. When we baptize as a local church, there are a number of things that we must take into consideration. We take into consideration people that have a phobia for water. So how do you baptize that type of person? So there are certain ways in which we baptize.
Just tell us about these varying ways of baptizing and what you think would be preferable then.
Well, you know, as society has changed dramatically, has really tried to get away from the river baptizing. We all know that the Crocodile River is infested with snakes as well as crocodiles.
Yeah.
And again, it's not a very safe environment. So again, to be able to get the community into a safe environment, a pool perhaps of one of the congregant members or a pool in the community, and make absolutely certain that the floor, again, is not a slippery floor, because that could pose problems as well. So before you go out and do a baptism, you need to go and do a site visit and make absolutely certain that you have the necessary precautions in place.
Well, why do you think, in conclusion, why do you think that churches like the Zion Church in this case, why do they prefer this kind of river baptisms?
Well, you know, Jesus was baptized in a river, and I suppose that's one of the reasons why the Zionists would do that. But ideally, it would be in a good environment where, again, it is very safe and phobias are taken into place. Interview your baptism
congregants.
Exactly, those that would be baptized members. Interview them, see where their phobias lie, and then work on that.
I suppose if it's in a river, one have to make sure that they can swim, at least, if that is the case. But we've run out of time. Pastor Ashley Julius is the leader of the Redeemed Gospel Church of South Africa. I thank you for joining us and sharing your views on what is a very sad story here in South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, we continue with our focus, regional focus this is. We go to, well, the region of the capital. The city of Tshwane says it plans to issue suspension letters to at least 98 of its bus drivers and 41 other members of staff. This after they embarked on an unprotected strike that the city says disrupted services severely. Earlier this month, workers affiliated to trade union SAMU down tools after the municipality upheld its decision that drivers should continue to carry money bags and selling cash tickets. Now, the city's Lindela Mashego says they have lost revenue due to the drivers' failure to carry out their responsibilities. I'm joined from the capital by Mr. Mashego this morning. A very good morning to you, Mr. Mashego. Thank you for joining us.
Good day, Eben, and good day to the viewers.
Just give us the latest on the bus drivers' industrial action and then your view at the moment.
As we speak, everything is normal. There are no disruptions. We are operating a full fleet throughout the city.
And what are the grievances that have been put forward or tabled by SAMU members? And are you prepared to meet drivers halfway? There are even safety concerns.
Most certainly, Eben, as the city, we are committed to meeting the bus drivers halfway, but then their gripe is centered around the carrying of money bags. We have an agreement with them that in due course we will phase out the carrying of money bags. The city is looking into an alternative ticketing system, which is an automated fare collection system. So we do agree, but we are against the idea of them pressurizing the city, meaning the SAMU affiliated drivers, pressurizing the city, not complying with the policies of the Tshwane bus services. We expect them to carry the money bags. We expect them to collect or pick up the commuters that want to use cash as form of payment.
Now, the drivers have pointed out that they are the targets for robberies because they have to operate with cash, and they claim that this is very rife in Gauteng and that the municipality is not really taking their safety into consideration. Your reaction to that?
My reaction to that is we have intensified policing around the city. The last incident that occurred is not recorded as being within the past few months. So we take this seriously. We are concerned, of course, about their safety. But in recent days, I must emphasize that there hasn't been any robberies.
Now, let's quickly talk about the future. You know, we're going into a high technology times where a cashless environment is a possibility. Are you at the municipality looking at turning the bus routes and so forth, buses themselves into cashless environments for safety purposes?
Most definitely, Eben, we are looking into that. As I indicated, that we are procuring an automated fare collection system, which will be implemented very soon. It's just a process that we have to go through. We accept their concerns, but at the same time, we have a responsibility of faring the passengers, people that are going to work, school children, and those that are touring the city. We are certainly committed to seeing to it that this system is implemented.
And what is your message then as the city? What's your message to passengers, to people who use the bus routes every day? What can they look forward to from the city?
We would like to take this opportunity even and sincerely apologize for the inconvenience that is caused from time to time by the SAMO-affiliated bus drivers. It will be tackled, it will be attended to, everything will be sorted out in due course, and they will enjoy our public transport system.
Thank you very much. I thank you for joining us today. That is Lindela Mashehu, who is speaking on behalf of the city. We're dealing with the bus strike, the municipal bus strike that is in the capital. It's caused a lot of consternation. Bus drivers are saying they are not prepared to work with cash or to carry money bags around with them, as it is simply too dangerous here in Gauteng, the fear of armed robbery being a constant with them wherever they are. Well, now we're going to shift gears, if we're going to talk in bus drivers' language. South Africa's most notorious and at times controversial puppet, Chester Missing. Well, he is in Johannesburg, at the Johannesburg Theatre from yesterday, and he'll be here until the 8th of November. Now, as always, Chester will be accompanied by his faithful sidekick, Conrad Koch. Now, Conrad is also insisting on dragging two other puppets around with him.
No, it offends me, quite frankly. Hello, Ethan, how are you?
I'm good, I'm very good.
I always like what you do with your hair.
Yeah, you know...
It looks like your hair is pointing in a direction. I like it.
You know, it's one of the things that I still have going for me, so, you know...
No, you do. You've got lots going for you, guys. Yeah, no, but your hair uses Viagra. I like it. It's up there.
What happened to your hair? Are you in the new... Are you in the new, what do you call the cheese cup vibe?
The cheese cup. My hair falls off, guy. I don't know. I can't afford super glue. This guy doesn't pay me enough. You know what it's like. You're a journalist at SABC. You know exactly what I get.
I love this guy. Tell me, do you tattoo your eyebrows?
Yes, I do. I do with a koki and a puppet. Yeah.
It's permanent.
Yes, I do. I do. Me and Kuli Roberts, we tattoo our eyebrows.
Tell me quickly now, Chester, Conrad, you guys are in Johannesburg until for a whole 3 weeks, it looks like.
It's a 3-week run at Joburg Theatre. It's a really nice theatre, nice 200-seater. We've got this awesome show we've got lined up. No, it sucks. No, it's good.
So
no,
you
don't
guys,
come.
Chester, what do you think of Joburg? You don't mind being in Joburg for
I love Joburg. Joburg rocks, man. Joburg rocks. That's Steve's Nastol, you know. I love Joburg. I'm walking around Joburg looking for Bladens and Monday hiding from the students.
Now, without giving your game away, tell us a little bit about the set that you guys are putting together at the Joburg Theatre.
Well, it's obviously it's current affairs, so you'll hear all about Marion Roberts and Kandla and Wits fees, and then also looking at the larger history of our countries and the colonialism. We deal with colonialism and have sort of a huge amount of fun talking about what are we going to do? Who are we in South Africa? That's why the show's called Missing. It's just really fun stuff with puppets. He's got another opening act. Gigi Lachanteuse is a great cabaret act because the show is it's puppets and it's fun. And I've got my life coach who's Charles Hillary. This is a debaucherous alcoholic life coach. And at the end of the show, we turn someone into a lion.
No, Chester, I mean, I don't always want to turn a thing into colour.
Sorry to do this. Just your hair.
But, you know, if I look on screen, I see there you had a bit of a tan there.
No,
when
I'm
you were
white
there,
now.
But now
I'm white. No, I didn't.
You're a little bit whiter.
No,
yeah.
I had enough of this guy riding on me. If you want to do blackface, do it yourself. Dude, what are you going to say? What do you can't just change race? Have you seen Leon Schuster? That guy spent so much time pretending to be black. Helen Ziller could use him as a life coach. Okay.
We're not going to go there. We're not going to
Look
go
at me. I'll never get a tender looking like this, will I?
No, you won't.
No.
You won't. You're going to have to be the
Your
other.
hair will get a tender before I do.
Oh, no, it's a little bit
Ethan's hair in the store.
I love the fact that you are killing me my hair. You talk about being missing. What happened with you going missing all the time?
I know,
From Tanzania, you went missing in May.
I know.
And then just for last Montreal Festival, you were missing again.
You did research, didn't you?
You're having issues with the ladies or what?
Yes, I know, and then hiding. Because I made a latex, so I'm the safest sex you can have.
Do you have a girlfriend?
No, I can't afford to go on dates. I don't have money. He had to go for.
You don't have to go on dates anymore. You do have a phone. You can date on the phone.
Tinder. I can do Tinder. Is that what you do?
Man.
You're Tinder or Grindr? Which one? Tinder, Grindr. But the thing is, what internet dating? It's a future. Wait until our president finds out about internet dating. Okay, all right. Ashley Madison. Okay, just
no.
What happens is. He doesn't have time and he lives in a suitcase. There's no space for another tat. I was in a consensual relationship with Thor Darby dolls, the ligaments, but it ended. The Darby dolls thought they could do better.
They could do better than you. No, you're a handsome fella, man.
Now they're dating Bongani Dingwa.
But I'm not going to... we can't go down that road, okay?
Yeah.
We cannot go down that road. You know, it would be too personal. So
no, let's not go there. But I like your suit. It is nice.
Yeah, and it's a little bit warm for this time of the year, to be honest.
It looks like you knitted it yourself.
I love it.
It looks cool. It's blazing. It's stylish.
It's from the Plaza, you know.
From the Plaza?
Oriental Plaza.
Oh, yes, I know. You can get anything at the Oriental Plaza.
Yeah, one for the price of two.
I got unabridged birth certificates.
Quickly, tell us about current affairs. What are you guys going to be doing when you...
Well, there's so much to talk about. I mean, Murray and Roberts says the wind blew, you know.
But Murray and Roberts are quiet.
Yes, they know they're in hiding. They're like this. They're like the Aid and the Wit students. Okay. So, and you know, of course, you know, talking about, you know, 150 years of digging diamonds out this ground, why haven't we found some money for students? That kind of, you know, very current, Diane Collar Barnard.
What? Oh, no, you can't go there.
Yeah, we went there. It is a new show.
I'm sure you're going to go there. What are you doing about the World Cup, though?
The World Cup,
are we transformation?
Well, no, officially, I think, Chester, what is you... We watch... officially, the World Cup is actually a secret plan for the Springboks to snuggle white people back into England. White people with us, they lost to Japan. How do you lose to Japan? God, it sucks when your favorite rugby team lose to the people who make your favorite buckies. Okay.
Everyone's big in Japan now, Chester. Even you'll be big in Japan, my friend.
Is that a height joke?
No, I'm not saying that you're short. You're not
short.
Your
hair is bigger than Japan. Your hair's an island.
Mine's like a Japan hairstyle in a way, you know, just cut off the sides. But, I mean, let's not talk about hair. I got a friend look just like you. He's always talking about my hair also because he doesn't have any.
Barker Haynes.
Yeah, no, I can't even go down that road. But now... What's your message?
I want to know who your friend is.
What's your message? What's your message to the Boks against the All Blacks before we go?
They're called the All Blacks and we're sending the All Whites. I think it's going to work. It's like the 80s out there.
It's going to work, an absolute treat. Chester Missing and Conrad Koch, ladies and gentlemen, what a treat. Joburg Theatre until the 8th of November. You have to go and see the show if you want to have a little giggle about what's current in South Africa, what are the things that we talk about around the braai fire that's not always so politically correct. Thanks, guys.
Braai fire, that's alliteration. What is that?
Alliteration. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Conrad Koch, Chester Missing.
Good luck with the hair.
On that
stay
note,
sitting.
You must wait.
Oh my God!
You must wait. You must wait.
Ethan!
There we go.
It's cloudy here. Ethan!
On that note, we got to go. Time to go to the sports desk with Kendall Mahamatu.
SABC News team will bring you live coverage of the Tanzanian elections 2015. from Dar es Salaam, Zanzibar, and Morogoro, Tanzania elections 2015.
All the latest news from the SABC's online news services on our website. Breaking news and in-depth coverage of everything from business, sports to politics and lifestyle. Catch the top news clips and watch live streaming of major news events on the SABC News YouTube channel whenever. Stay connected on the SABC News Facebook page and have your say on news that matters to you. And for the latest headlines and live updates from our reporters, follow us on Twitter. SABC Digital News, anytime, anywhere.
Good morning and welcome back. Now, coming back after Chester missing is a bit of a thing. Our top story in the sports, though, is a feisty Jomo Cosmos stood toe-to-toe with mighty Kaizer Chiefs last night, holding them to a 0-0 draw at a packed Olin Park in Potchefstroom. And Golden Arrows stand SuperSport United, beating them 2-1 on their own backyard. Now, here are the highlights.
We saw the replay maybe a day or two later. Now, chance for Cosmos, real chance for Cosmos. Can they bury it? Side netting. Come to an end, but in just league terms, yeah. Here they are. Mangale! Beautiful control, but it won't count. They'll have to calm themselves down. Masilela. Oh, flag is taken! Naika gets down, denies Mangale. Masumba. From a long way out. Ooh, that trouble Peterson. Before that, Celtic ball in, far post. Shaba looking to get in on the action in the aerial duels. Now has a chance from Tembu. Off of the bar. Was he beaten? Did he get a touch? It started with him having to change socks. And now! Oh, he's saved by the crossbar. Then comes up with a save. Wow, Naika.
Phansi umphathele inkawungenja kona ikhawulezayo kwakhona Khanyeza uguqula wegoba nalithuba elihle wababa nahlale emnatheni Golden Arrows yabhalisa suka.
Here's the Arrows. Mahashi, does he make it through? The answer is there for you to see. At the moment, we're seeing Tusapala attacking on the right-hand side, and he has a chance, an equalizer. In actual fact, he's pulled one back. It's not an equalizer. It is a Kingston Carter that pulls one back for SuperSport United.
Now, all of that brings us to this, a quick reminder of where the results stood after the end of the matches last night. Lucas Muripe Stadium, Golden Arrows are pulling a surprise on SuperSport United, beating them 2-1. And Jomo Cosmos, the other team that was recently promoted from the NFD, holding Kaizer Chiefs to a 0-0 draw at Olin Park. Kickoff was 7:30 for those. There will be more action in the African Premiership tonight. And once again, 7:30 p.m. kickoff for all of these matches. Orlando Pirates are hosting Wits, Ajax Cape Town hosting Ducks, and then Bloem Celtic, they'll be playing Mamelodi Sundowns, and then Black Aces against Platinum Stars. Chippa United, they travel to Pietermaritzburg to play in the Herregwala Stadium against Maritzburg United, and then Polokwane City, they'll be playing Free State Stars at the old Peter Mokaba. Now we'll take it a little further afield, and Arsenal finally made a mark on the continent, for the season at least, beating Bayern Munich 2-0 at the Emirates, and Chelsea only managed a goalless draw in Kiev, Ukraine. Barca got all 3 points and off against Bate in Borisov. Now here are the highlights of these matches.
In from Santi Cazorla, there's Koscielny, Neuer came rushing, and it's gone in off Giroud. In comes Bellerin, and Bellerin powers past the next man too, and Ozil, Neuer's in the way, and Oxlade-Chamberlain's got too much. It's hit the deck and bounced over. Now, has the goal been given? It has. It went over the line from Ozil. Vida Oh, Begovic was beaten for Yowski's effort. Desperately unlucky. He doesn't break for Matic or Cahill. Yarmolenko for Derlis Gonzalez. Kravitz is in the middle. Yarmolenko wants it played back. And Begovic got the angle right at the near post. It's it away. Almost a dangerous ball back into the fray. It was a very poor clearance which falls for Sidorchuk. Begovic, very grateful.
From when the sides met in Minsk 4 years ago. Here's Rakitic. Oh, there is the opening goal. Rifled into the roof of the net by Ivan Rakitic. The first half substitute for Sergi Roberto. Neymar. On to Rakitic again. 2-0. Beautifully finished by the Croatian.
And of course, here's a summary of the results from last night's action in the UEFA Champions League match day 3. As you can see, a 2-0 win for Barcelona at Borisov. Roma 4-4 against Bayer Leverkusen at goal fest, that one. And then in Group F, Bayern Munich being surprised by Arsenal 2-0. Arsenal doing well to do that, beating them at Emirates Stadium. Dinamo Zagreb losing 1-0 to Olympiacos, and then a 0-0 draw for Chelsea. Yes, there was a penalty that was called for, but Fabregas didn't get it. Maccabi Tel Aviv losing again, this time to Porto 2-0. And in Group H, Petersburg against Lyon 3-1, and Valencia beating Caen 2-1. Now to tonight's fixtures. Also match day 3, as you can see, some more of your favorite teams in action. Group A through to Group D. Malmo against Shakhtar. Real Madrid, they go to PSG. Moscow, see what Manchester United can do there. Wolfsburg against PSV, and then Atletico Madrid against Astana. And an interesting roll-up there will be Manchester City playing Sevilla. That's in Group D. And Juventus against Borussia Mönchengladbach. And that's pretty much where we're going to leave it with the sports. In fact, I do believe that we're about to close the show as well, and that's exactly why I'm joining the rest of the team. Levan?
Yeah, thank you, Kendall. Good job there. Manchester United to win in Moscow tonight is what I'm saying, but that's where I'll leave it. I know that there are a lot of Liverpool fans out there that don't believe that this year is the same without them. They now have to play on Thursday nights, Elvis.
Well, you know, Manchester United are always up there, you know. We're wearing red.
All
tomorrow.
That's very underhanded, even. They're now to play on Thursday night.
Yeah, they play on Thursday nights. That's why the Liverpool teams play. Now, quickly, Anine, is there anything we need to know before we go?
Well, it's definitely some development with the student protest, developments on the Limpopo campus of Turfloop. We know that university management has said that exams there have been suspended for the day, so we're going to keep a close eye on exactly what will be happening from here on out.
Javier should be then back at the top of the next hour, where we'll have the business report with a full roundup of us.
Full roundup, and of course the medium-term budget. It's coming up, so you better be staying tuned right here on Channel 404. This is where you get all the latest news and reviews. So stay tuned. From myself, Elvis Preslin.
Me, Kendall Makamate.
Whose turn is it now? Okay. From myself, Ivan Jansen. Wonderful. We'll see you back tomorrow, and hopefully we can have another firecracker of a day just like today. Bye.
Ciao.